Okay, I think we're live. What's up, ATF Media? Welcome to the stream. I love this thumbnail of this elephant. It's like one of my favorite thumbnails ever. Welcome to the stream. Good morning, Grace, wherever you are. I think we know where she is. She's been streaming, I think, yesterday from the office, or from the, not the office, the studio. I went in for a minute, but I saw they were open panel, so I left. I'm not real super in an open panel mood. I saw Ava was doing was doing one of her documentaries on Spicoli. I did not, aside from what you guys told me yesterday, I don't know anything about that situation. I'm boycotting Lolcow Rejects until they bring back Hurricane Paro. That show is like falling off a cliff, basically, in my opinion. But, yeah, I didn't really watch anything, so I don't really have any news updates for you. I did record 2 new taste tests. I got one of a crab flavored chip, but it was, I don't know, it's kind of disappointing though. It didn't really have much of a flavor to it. But that's about it. Oh, today we're doing sightings, obviously, and for sightings fans, I put in a little bit of legwork. YouTube, for some reason, when I search for sightings, will not it wasn't showing me like 3 or 4 other sources for episodes, but eventually I found them. So I've got, not only do I have this source goes up to season 3, but I think now we have access to up till season 5. And then I can also go back, and I think there's like a handful of episodes that were not on this playlist. I think back in season 1 there were at least 3. We can go back and get those and actually have like, you know, we can actually like watch the entire series. But I think that's it. I think that's really all the news I have today. Yeah, so let's jump in. I'm excited for this episode. We got the elephant. I did see that they're talking about ice circles, which I think is really cool after we've seen so many crop circles. Plus, there's talk about the Mars cover up is listed in the synopsis. So anyway, good news for Sightings fans. We're going to be able to watch the complete series, so that's good. And let's jump in. Sightings season 3, episode 3.
On this edition of Sightings, the military is flying a new secret weapon.
I can't say for sure what we saw was of this Earth.
Were these designs stolen from an extraterrestrial craft?
In the case of the UFO model, we've made every effort to make it accurate.
Then, this woman has a mysterious power to communicate with animals.
She must be doing something, because I've never seen him do this.
A psychic
A Doolittle?
has a horrifying
Incredible.
vision of murder.
Got my
I
hair
touch
is
something
like
off the body, then I
driving me
can
crazy
become
today.
them.
And later, alien abductees are given a terrifying message.
We are being given a choice to change our
I
ways.
can't wait for the Doolittle story.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm
That would be a lot of fun. Let me screenshot that south to west.
Tim White. The wide open spaces of
There we
Nevada
go.
are the perfect testing
I'll check it out.
ground
I'll
for
see
the
what
US
the
military's
copyright
top secret
situation
weapon
is on it.
systems and aircraft.
I forgot my drink.
So
I'll be
it's
right
not
back.
unexpected that people who live there often report seeing unidentified flying objects. But the UFOs that have been sighted most recently are unique.
You could see that it was definitely a spheroid-shaped object, and that it was surrounded by this very energetic field that would lag behind the maneuvers that it would make.
We stopped on this ridge, and my partner looked at me. His eyes were as big as fish bowls, and he motioned for me to look back over our shoulders to the east. I can't say for sure.
Oh, shoot. Hey, Story Over Steve. Hey, F-Wood. If you just got here, I mentioned it earlier, but I thought we were going to run out of episodes soon, but I found 2 new sources, so we'll be able to see not only the stuff that's ahead, but we'll be able to go back and see the episodes that were not included in this source when we were watching like season 1.
What we saw was of this Earth.
Here's the bad guy from
Area
Karate Kid mixed with the
51,
good guy from Karate
Dreamland,
Kid.
Groom Lake, This UFO-rich area has many names, unless you talk to the military. Despite high-level leaks about top-secret aircraft testing
Johnny
gear with
LaRusso.
codenames like Aurora and Black Manta, the Pentagon
Black
continues to issue
Manta.
their standard denials.
Remember that game
Even
on
to
the
Congress.
NES, Wrath of the Black
Every
Manta?
time
What a great game.
that there's a story about Aurora or the TR-3
Hey,
Black
George
Manta
Knapp,
in
guys,
Popular
wow.
Science or the New York Times or something else, Congress
Big
calls
names.
the Pentagon on the carpet and says, what's the deal? They want to know if these planes exist. And every time they've asked about those planes, they've been told there is no such thing.
The military's established a pattern of denial concerning these
I don't know why. He reminds me of like a perfect meld of Ralph Macchio and the whatever that guy's name is, William Zabka.
highly capricious wild aircraft beginning in the late 50s and continuing to this day.
The pattern of denial started with the U-2. In the 50s, sightings of strange cigar-shaped craft were followed by leaks about a new spy plane, codenamed U-2.
U-2.
The military denied the existence of any such plane, until Francis Gary Powers was shot down over Russia in a U-2. The pattern continued in the 1960s with the SR-71
Yeah,
Blackbird.
William Zabka.
In the 70s and 80s with
He
the
was in a
stealth
few other
fighter
80s
and the stealth
movies, too.
bomber. And now, in the 90s,
I
it's
need to do a
happening
William
again.
Zabka
There are
deep
new
dive.
sightings of disc-shaped craft, new leaks suggesting the discovery of an anti-gravity device, and the same old denials.
There's a certain conceit, I think, among journalists that, well, if it's real, if it's true, we can get it, because Washington, the government, the Pentagon, they all leak like a sieve. Well, that may be the attitude in journalism, but if you ask military folks, they will tell you secrets can be kept. Secrets are kept.
Many believe the secrets are kept here, at this supposedly non-existent Nevada military base. Rumors suggest that anti-gravity technology being used here
man.
was actually recovered from an
How
alien
exciting.
spacecraft.
Anti-gravity?
I think there's a strong possibility that we have recovered some sort of alien technology and are trying to incorporate that into military programs.
I like
In an
the
attempt to penetrate the security net around
I like the way that they're phrasing it, anti-gravity. Like somebody out there was like, gravity, I hate you. And like they drove them to make this device. Hey, Ember.
Area 51, investigators Michael D.
Oh,
Gregorio
appreciate
and
it.
Roger Johnson pedaled a backcountry route. Suddenly, a series of red-orange objects flared out across the sky.
They started at great height, seemed to descend, and then flared out. It was startling. Then a series of silver pewter flashes went directly across the horizon at terrific speed. One of these silver flashes went directly up into the air. The bottom one seemed nearly to hug the ground.
Did Di Gregorio and Johnson witness the super-secret testing of a new kind of aircraft? In fact, someone did think they saw too much.
I believe
As
this.
they
I
returned
mean,
to base camp, they were detained by
I absolutely believe if you live in an area close to a base, you could see an unidentified flying object, but I don't know that I would jump to that it's an alien.
a security patrol that seemed to be protecting
Yeah.
more than just a stretch of arid landscape.
Anti-gravity.
Boom. Headlights come on. There was an M16 pointed at us. And here we were faced with a life and death situation. But we also knew...
Even these guys are smart. These guys are... Okay, let's think about this for a second, right? They see an unidentified object in the sky. They get on their bicycle and they race there, and they still have enough wherewithal to put on a helmet. Even under crisis, and OPC Don can't do it.
that we had crossed the line back into public domain, and therefore we were safe.
Oh, I appreciate that, Ember.
3 months later, in the same area, independent investigator
Very
Mark
kind of
Farmer
you.
saw the same orange-red UFOs. He had a camera and
I'm
captured these
pro-gravity.
images on film. As an aviation expert, Farmer was stunned.
I saw the object exhibit
I don't want my
entirely
weed floating away.
unconventional flight characteristics. At times, it would wobble around in the sky and appear very unstable. At other times, it would be in a rock-hard hover. It was an obliterated sphere, multicolored, crimson on bottom, blue-green on top, much brighter than anything else in the sky.
Is this photographic evidence of the military's latest experimental aircraft? The answer isn't likely to come from the Pentagon.
Let
That's
me put
kinda
it this
cool
way.
looking.
I don't think the military has any credibility with the public in terms of its denials of this program or that program. They've denied the U-2 existed. They denied the SR-71 existed. They denied working on stealth. All of those programs suddenly were unveiled.
The only information
I didn't say I loved
at this
it. I
point
said I'm just
comes
pro
from links
gravity.
within the government structure. Bob Lazar, an aerospace engineer formerly assigned to Area
Bob
51,
Lazar and
claims
George
the government
Knapp in the same
possesses
episode.
At least 9 disc-shaped alien craft currently warehoused in Nevada.
I was part of a back engineering group, and our job was basically to look at these recovered discs, and I say recovered because I don't know.
This is a
really
great
where they came
episode.
from.
Holy
They're
shit.
given to us, we found them, shot them down, who knows what. But our group basically was to back engineer them, which means to start with a finished product and go backward and see how it was fabricated, and try and duplicate some of that technology with earthly materials.
What an
To me,
all-star
Bob Lazar is
episode.
credible. Over the past couple of years, I've spoken to
Back to
literally
back,
dozens
too.
of people who have worked at that facility out there in Nevada. I think the technology at Area 51 originally came from somewhere else.
They were looking at something that, as far as Bob is concerned, didn't come from this planet, and they were trying to figure out
What is
how
this
it
guy?
worked.
He works at the company that makes
John
the
Andrews
models?
is also considered a reliable source for information about government projects. He has an amazing track record for revealing aircraft projects before their official unveiling. He's not a military officer, nor an aerospace engineer. He's a product designer for a toy company called Testor, and he can't keep a secret.
Secrecy is used oftentimes to hide the details of the funding and the size of the program. More often than not, it doesn't hide a real, true technological secret.
The Pentagon was not amused
Man, the
when
stealth
Testor
bomber.
released a replica of the F-117A stealth fighter before it was officially
What's a
known to the
stealth
public.
fighter?
The recent release of their Project Aurora model is also making waves. Why is a toy company the
Penetrator.
public's best source for information about military projects?
They have sources throughout the military. They have sources in companies like Lockheed and Northrop, and they get bits and pieces of information from here and put it all together.
With such a remarkable track record, what's next on the Testor drawing board? John Andrews says it will be this, a UFO replica called the Sport Model.
In the case of
Flotation.
the UFO model, we've made every effort to make it correct and to make it accurate. We've made every effort to find out
Wait,
the best information on the subject. We went to people who
How does he get this information? You know what I mean? Did the government hire him to make these models? How's he getting this information? And why would they trust him a second time if he revealed the stealth bomber early?
said that they have worked on the craft.
Could the Sport Model
Or is he, okay, hold on. Is he getting like, is he collecting this information by talking to these people and then he's using that to build the planes? If so, like, again, why wouldn't the government go to him and be like, hey, you know, nah. Why don't they do that?
model really be the next step forward in military aircraft design? Testor says yes, and the experts are listening.
The Testor Corporation has been very lucky in terms of building models that suddenly become real planes, but it's not luck.
Well,
Now
there
they're
you go.
telling us
Okay.
that they believe
If you've got just lower, like less gravity, that would be okay because you could get into some real hijinks with that kind of gravity.
that flying saucers at Area 51 are a real possibility.
This model may be the very, very first authentic plastic scale model kit of something that was designed and built and flown from another planetary system. I cannot say that
I
that is
don't think so,
absolutely
buddy.
certain, but there is that possibility.
Next on Sightings, a
Here we
woman's
go.
uncanny ability to communicate with animals produces astonishing results.
This is amazing. She must be doing something.
There is an unspoken language between people and their pets, especially if they've been together for a long time. The same intuitive sense that you may have with one pet, some people claim to have with all animals. These aren't just fanciful modern-day Dr. Doolittles. Professional pet interpreters like Samantha Curry get astonishing results.
Okay, so really, I mean, I'm not saying that specifically what she does is going to work, but we as a society at large, at least in America, have accepted the fact that animal whisperers exist. There's entire like cottage industries of people who claim to be able to read the the thoughts and emotions of animals. So this at the time might have been silly, but like this is one of the for sure things on here that actually like panned out. The concept.
I'm usually the last hope.
Not the actual talking to
average person
animals.
comes to see me because they don't know where to turn. This is their last hope.
She's like a translator, is how I would describe it.
People seek out Samantha Curry when the special bond between pet and owner seems to be breaking down. She's part pet psychologist, part sounding board, and claims that her
Sounding
psychic
board.
connection with
Sounding?
animals is so strong that she can often
Look at her talking to the
communicate with the
bird.
pet even when the owner cannot. It was her work with the elephants at the San
Oh,
Diego
no.
Wild Animal Park that first brought Samantha's talents into the national spotlight.
Well, the elephant keeper thought that his animals, the 7 or 8 elephants that
Jeff
he had,
Jewett.
were acting a little strangely.
Jeff Jewett.
The elephant
Joie.
keeper's wife,
Jeff
who
Joie.
knew of Samantha Curry, had mentioned this to him.
Thumbnail,
and,
by the way.
I guess he figured, why not give it a try?
When I realized that I was in the presence of a very intelligent being, it was overwhelming for me.
Zookeepers were astonished that Samantha knew things about the elephants which were not public knowledge, including the recent death of one of the herd.
When it died, they took the body and they moved the body away. The elephants didn't even get a chance to touch that body or that form.
The elephants at the animal park had never participated in this type of mourning ritual, and Samantha told their zookeeper that this was the source of the problem. They wanted to grieve for their friend in their own way.
I believe
just
that.
said,
I
"Well,
believe
I
this. I think what she's saying is true. I do think that if you have multiple animals and one animal dies, like if the others like see the body and like, you know what I mean, it can like smell it or whatever, or just like seeing it, like they understand what's going on, I think a lot better.
Kept the skull for some reason, I don't know why. Would that help if I put the skull in the compound?
Oh yeah, the Angelic Initiative.
So he had done that, and then they let all of the elephants out the next day.
I forgot about
He
them.
said that he had heard 3 or 4 enormous cries, and then they worked all day to take and separate the tusk.
I mean, it's
from
why we have
the skull.
funerals and little
once that was
rituals
done,
and
it was
wakes
as if
and shit
something
like
was
that.
listed throughout the whole herd.
Shouldn't be surprising
It's
that animals
theorized in
would
the
do it
wild
too.
that elephants will go through kind of a grief period, and they'll even pick up bones of elephants that have died and carry them with them. Just a chance to kind of recognize that they're not here anymore, pay their respects, I guess is how we'd put it in human terms.
How did
Cats love the
elephants
taste of their
communicate
dead
with
owners.
Samantha?
That could definitely be true. But think about you see all the stories of like, you know, and I'm not saying they're all true, but you see stories about like the dogs that go and wait. Like I feel like if the dog had like, I think in those situations maybe if the dog like could see the body, I think it would make a big difference. Like he would understand.
She believes that
But
animals
otherwise, just
transmit
thinks he
thought
maybe
with
he's coming
pictures
home
instead
one
of
day.
words, and that she is sensitive to
Dogs
receiving
definitely
those
mourn
pictures.
for sure.
It's almost like going back to being in kindergarten. You see the flashcards and the picture of the boat and then the word the boat. By the time you get into 1st or 2nd grade, that word represents the visual impression.
And Samantha uses the same kind of word pictures to talk back to her clients, like these thoroughbred show horses in Del Mar, California. These horses are working professionals, and their owners have a big stake in their success.
She turned around and started telling me things about the horse that only I, as the rider, would know about.
Toby's a jumper. Great horse. I first met Toby because he was having some problems with jumping.
He was doing very well in the warm-up ring, and he'd go in the show ring and like pull 4 rails.
I believe it.
And it just felt to me that his concentration wasn't there.
Toby gave me visual impressions originally on how he was jumping, and that he didn't understand that this is really serious.
Well, Poppy, if you've ever seen him, he's the white cat that's in some of my shorts. He's an older cat, and like his brother, he had a couple different brothers over the years that like you know, he would like cuddle with and he was really close with. And whenever they died, like he was like legit, like just fell into like he wouldn't do anything. But then whenever Cicero got here, then it took him a while to like bond, but eventually they did. And like now, you know, Poppy's like a brand new cat pretty much.
His business. He was much more playful. As I talked about going over the jumps, that what he needed to do was just lift his legs up just a little bit higher, tuck them up close to his body, and then that his relationship with Mark was a business.
When
This is a
Samantha was
business
communicating with
relationship.
Toby and how he should be jumping over the
He should
fences,
yell at
she
that
would go
horse
ahead
like
and grunt.
Christian Bale
well,
yelled
Toby
at
now
that guy
grunts
that one
over
time.
certain fences. He doesn't grunt over every single fence, but every time he goes over a fence really well and he grunts, he's doing it in fairly good form. So I have to associate that with something that Samantha did. I think it would probably take me a whole year to what Samantha's been able to accomplish through the 2-month period of just communicating with him once.
Toby is just one of many success stories Samantha has had working with horses at this facility. But not everyone is convinced.
Well, I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm not very familiar with this stuff, but I guess I gotta be open-minded.
It's only natural that many animal owners are skeptical before their first session. Diamond has recently...
They're like, oh, it would be funny if that lady talked to this horse and explained that it was business, and then that horse went and unionized the rest of the other horses as a result. Like they thought they were just having fun, you know, running around. Now they want to wet their beaks in the cash. You know, it's only fair.
Refusing to trot properly. After his owners went through the usual
How you doing,
course of
Fenway? How you
behavioral
doing, Laughing
specialists,
Cedar?
they decided to try something different.
This is amazing. Well, she must be doing something because I've never seen him do this. I've never seen him gait naturally like he's done here. I've never seen him do that. And that was one of his deficiencies, is he doesn't foxtrot like he's supposed to.
They got to bring in the
Although
mob
Samantha
to start
consults
breaking
with many
horse
professional
legs.
animals and their trainers, the bulk of her
She
work
wearing
is
the
with family
nails
pets.
outfit?
After 30 years of practice, Samantha has successfully brought thousands
Oh,
of
look at
pets
look at
and
that
their
little guy.
owners closer together. But for client Julie Ritter, better communication with her dogs brought some surprising revelations.
I was kind of wondering if something ever happened to the marriage, I wasn't expecting it, and I had to split up the 10 dogs, who would go with who?
Julie brought her dogs to Samantha
More
and asked her
carrots.
to interpret their preferences. One dog gave an answer that just didn't make sense at first.
So we come to Scruffy. I said, well, who would you go with? She said, I'd go with the little boy. I don't have any kids. So I said, what little boy? And she said, well, the little boy that lives next door. Well, where am I? And, well, you're at church. And she said, well, the lady and my husband go down the hall. And I thought, oh my God, the only thing down the hall is bedrooms. And I went, oh,
Hey, Pally,
my
you better
gosh,
get
you're
back
having
out
an
on the track
affair
or it's
while
the
I'm at
glue
church.
factory.
And I started to laugh. I mean, the whole thing was hysterical. I'm talking to this lady with her eyes
You
closed
better
and dogs
run
running
real
around.
fast,
and the
pal.
irony is, we continued to work on the
Well, you're gonna
marriage,
meet
but
horse
ultimately it did
Jesus.
die. And he married her, and the dog slept on the little boy's bed.
Samantha believes everyone has the ability to communicate with animals using
Uh-oh,
word
she
pictures.
rocking?
It takes time and practice, but the rewards can be great.
All the visual pictures are on in the brain, and then as you magnify and align your emotion with that visual, then the animal can understand you.
If this is the key that will unlock the mystery of human-animal communication, Samantha Curry says we will all benefit from a more humane world.
Going to the glue factory.
Samantha Curry believes most people have the ability to receive visual
Lolcow
messages
Rejects got to go
that
to
have
the
been
glue
psychically
factory
transmitted by
unless
their
they bring
pets.
back Paro.
She suggests that the 3 essential elements to improving human-animal communication are
Somebody told me
concentration,
that that the channel got taken down, but then they were streaming this morning.
patience, and love.
When Sightings returns,
Oh, here we go.
mysterious formations in
This I want to see. I actually don't know anything of this. Is like I don't remember this at all. The idea of like an ice circle.
ice are baffling scientists.
This is quite possible a winter equivalent of crop circles.
The winter equivalent of crop circles. New premium
Crop
skin
circles
just
are
dropped.
part of a
Ice
larger
ice
paranormal
ring
phenomenon
instead of
called
crop ring.
UGMs, unusual ground markings. A recent study found that 53% of all UGMs are made in wheat. But there are also enigmatic markings in oats, corn, and ice. Ice circles are extremely
Ice
rare, so
circles.
sightings
Oh
in
my
the
God.
northeastern U.S. are drawing a lot of attention. Perfect circles of ice, created by a cosmic compass. Swirling patterns that seem to
A
demand a
cosmic
supernatural
compass?
explanation. Ice circles mimic the geometric patterns of crop circles, with one important difference. The patterns are appearing in ice that is too thin to support a person, virtually eliminating the possibility of human intervention. The national coordinator of the Center for Crop Circle Studies is applying the same equipment and techniques used to document crop circles.
You
to
guys
the newly
remember this?
discovered
Ice circles?
Her preliminary findings
I like
are
her
very
headband.
promising.
A lot of this ice in which the circles are supposed to be happening is very thin, too thin to walk out on and to measure. And yet how is somebody going to go out there and put these at least dozens and perhaps hundreds of swirls, and they're not even really cut. These weren't actually cut and beautifully,
What a terrible necklace. What is that thing?
rings. These were just swirls within the ice.
Enigmatic patterns are also appearing in snow.
Yeah, I don't even remember
the
them.
absence of
South to
footprints
west.
to and from the site
Like at all,
casts
I
an
don't
eerie
remember 'em.
pall over the markings. If this is not a natural phenomenon, who possesses the ability to hover over a snowy site and create mysterious messages? Mainstream scientists dismiss this theory of extraterrestrial intervention, but they can't agree on an earthly answer either. Some hydrologists think water currents are responsible, but circles have formed where there was no perceptible current.
It's really dumb is why it didn't catch
Meteorologists
on.
who
I like
look
the
into the
idea of it
phenomenon
though. Ooh,
blame
Kevin
weather,
Costner in
but
Waterworld.
don't know why or what kind. For geologists, it's an Earth mystery with no explanation. One scientist who does have a possible explanation is John Burke. He has
Oh,
studied
boy.
crop
Should we
circles
trust
for the
this
last
guy?
10
Measure-
years
what's he doing?
and feels his
Scanning
theories
wheat?
about grain markings may apply to ice and snow markings as well. Burke believes an atmospheric anomaly called plasma is the key to the circle mysteries.
We believe that plasma forces are involved in creating crop circles because plasma is nothing more than electrified air particles. But you excite the temperature of that plasma a little higher and it will begin to glow. If you have it heated enough to glow, then it makes sense that it might be heated enough to melt snow and leave a record in the snow. Because certainly it would be nice to have a winter tapestry to record these events on, because there's no reason to believe they're seasonal.
It's that weird literal
likely to
ice
occur
version
year-round.
of Ice-T
Here
from
we've got
Rick
some
and Morty.
snow circles on a frozen lake that, if you look closely at the structure of them, is not unlike what you see in a lot of crop circles. In
What a-
this case, you could
what a
imagine
waste
that
of
as a
time.
ring with standing crop in the center, and that's quite a common formation.
Can you imagine being this guy and you got to pour over these ice circles and like you're taking it seriously because you really want to find like you really want there to be aliens, but like you've wasted all this time on the ice circles and now you've wasted our time watching about the ice circles.
Now, the same plasma mechanisms that
I'm
form
starting to
crop
think there may
circles
not be any hard
could be
evidence on this
expected
show.
to be making these kinds of marks in snow if the plasma was heated sufficiently to melt the snow. So this is quite possible a winter equivalent of crop circles.
Paranormal investigators believe natural phenomena can't adequately explain the seemingly intelligent ice, snow, and crop designs. Given the random power of natural events like tornadoes and hurricanes, the orderly circles and intersecting lines here seem to demand a
They
more
don't seem
supernatural
precise like the
explanation.
crop circles.
Next on Sightings,
To me,
a
anyway.
psychic detective is haunted by visions of murder.
I'm not me anymore, I'm them. And sometimes I hurt very
Oh
much when I'm
shit,
being
visions
killed.
of murder.
And later, alien abductees are given warnings of a cosmic apocalypse.
I think I saw that movie from the 90s, Visions of Murder. It was like a Julie
In
Strain
case after case,
softcore.
police officers have reportedly solved
That's what it
puzzling
sounds like.
crimes by operating on hunches and intuition. It's called
Erica
blue
Aliniak
sense.
in
But when hunches
Visions
and intuition don't
of
pan out,
Murder.
more and more law enforcement agencies are turning to psychic detectives as a last resort.
Noreen Renair sees things no one should ever
Red
have
umbrella.
to see. She feels things no one should ever have to feel. Noreen Renair is a psychic detective who believes she has the ability to put herself into the role of killer, accomplice, or victim.
It was like stepping on the moon once I entered into this.
Noreen
And it was
Renair.
just, I could touch a ring or watch, and I could see pictures in my head.
Noreen became aware of her psychic gift by accident. At the age of 30, Noreen was working in public relations when she was asked to represent a female psychic.
Listen to this. I know this is off topic, but listen to this. VP made a community post. It says this. Okay, this is how it starts. Okay, this is how it starts. The saddest, most desperate, sagging labia around. That's the opening of this post. Imagine being schizophrenic levels of delusional and lower IQ than humanly imaginable, and call a decent guy with good intentions. Whoops. Well, now what happened? Hold on, I got to bring it back up again. Okay, okay. Call a decent guy with good intentions to me and her dumb simply because he's high IQ enough to grasp a sociopath next to a homie. What a gross freaking loser. She's terrified, and it's my favorite. Maybe this wannabe dominatrix doesn't understand her design. Once messing with people bigger and better than her, that it's her tail needing to be tucked as she silently seethes about not being able to say my name as she awkwardly tries convincing the public that she legitimately has any credibility or fear to instill in anyone. This trick thinks she's got some kind of power. This is a god complex to the hilt. And this saggy, hole gaper really is funny as she learns her place. Failed hole. LMAO. Old saggy grifter. I don't know who that's about, but I think that's like a pretty amazing promo, TBH.
Reluctant at first, Noreen became fascinated with her new client.
Like, my
she
God,
just sort of
man.
did something on me and told me about some body scars and some things about me that there was just no way somebody could have told her. So then my mind started thinking, well, if she can do this, how can she do this?
Noreen spent several years developing her psychic ability before she began offering her unique services to law enforcement.
Oh my
Over
gosh.
the past 15 years, she claims to have had many successes, including one unsolved case in which her psychic vision led to the arrest and conviction of 3 murderers. The double murder occurred on May 15, 1986, in this quiet neighborhood just outside of Albany, New York. One moment, Jake and Dora Cohn were settling in for the night. The next moment, they were dead.
They were 72 years old, retired.
Yeah, what a great promo. Like, man, it was really... Now, imagine her content right now. A lot of the time is that, except directed at different people at different times. But, like, that's her energy pretty much all the time now. Failed hole. I bet you if, like... one of those, like, I don't know, one of those, I don't know what it, I don't even know what a popular brand of anything is anymore, but like some trendy brand released like just a black t-shirt with like silver sparkle lettering that said failed hole. I bet that would sell a lot.
Couple living
Perfectly
in
normal, perfectly person.
Middle class,
thriving.
maybe blue collar neighborhood, and one night they were shot dead in the head.
We had no physical evidence whatsoever, no weapon. We had 2 bullets laying at the scene, empty shell casings, and that was it.
After 4 years of investigation,
VP is a
the police
barbarian.
were no closer to solving the brutal
The more
murders of
damage
Dora
she
and Jake
takes,
Cohn.
the more like
They'd
damage
exhausted every
output
lead,
she can do,
and
but then
more
she
recent
also like
crimes forced the
a
unsolved
percentage
Cohn
of it
case
damages
onto the back
herself as
burner.
well.
But the Cohns' 2 children weren't ready to give up. They sought a different kind of help.
The family came to us and recommended that we use a psychic in this case.
The family wanted Noreen Renair. They'd read about her impressive track record and hoped Noreen's psychic ability would help crack their case.
I don't really need to meet everybody. I just need to touch something that was on the victim. I touched something off the body. Sometimes it was worn with them when they were killed. I touch it and I can become them.
The technique is called psychometry. By handling personal items found on the victims, Noreen believes she can psychically step into the crime scene and see what actually took place.
They sent me some a bloody shoe and a bloody pair of glasses.
Was it
one
Kurt
was from
Schilling's?
Dora and one was from Jake.
Oh, that was a sock.
And then they called me and I tuned in and described what both people look like alive.
Yeah, the hair went up on my arms, and I'm thinking, how in the world does she ever know this? For example, one of her opening statements was that the victim, Dora, was on a phone with a female at the time she was killed. Now, how she ever knows that, I have no idea.
Detectives traveled to Noreen's Florida home for a more in-depth session. They watched in amazement as Noreen entered a trance state and seemed to become Dora Cohn right before she was murdered.
I felt like I was sitting down and I felt like there was a phone in my hand and I was talking to somebody I liked and I thought it was a female. All of a sudden, I remember hearing some noise behind me.
When it came to a point, I had pulled Noreen's phone tolls through a court subpoena to make sure she didn't call Albany, New York.
Would you guys be okay? Let me run this scenario past you. Like you're just at, let's say you're just out on the street doing whatever, and somebody walks up to you, and like they don't look threatening in any way. They look like in fact maybe they look friendly. You know, they look approachable or whatever. But they stop. They're like stop you, and they say something to you that's like clearly like a code word or like a passphrase or whatever. You know what I mean? But you don't know what the answer is. Like, do you try to give like a fake answer, or would you just be like, I don't know what you're talking about? Like, how would you feel if you thought maybe like someone was giving you a passcode, but like you didn't know what to say about it?
To find that information.
You're in a trance state when you watch me. Me too.
There's a amount of information that she was totally 100% accurate in. She had mentioned
Man,
that
I was
a member of
yesterday.
the family had brought the killer to the house.
What a
on
ride.
numerous occasions, and that the killer had eaten dinner there.
I'm still
In her
thinking
trance,
about old Marshall.
Noreen felt a connection between Dora's grandson and the killer.
And I was very surprised and shocked that this person was here. He shot me, and I don't know if I get up when he shoots me again,
Hey,
but I
Jeremy.
know I'm on the floor, and my back seems to be hurting me a great deal, and I'm on the floor, and I die.
Noreen's revelation about the grandson's involvement shocked
Okay,
Lieutenant
I'm
Krolak.
thinking like, well, my favorite password ever is in Eyes Wide Shut, right? Whenever Tom Cruise goes to the sex party and the passphrase or whatever is Fidelio. But like, what if someone just walked up to you and said like a word that like you wouldn't just use? You know what I mean? Like if someone just walked up to you and they were like, oh, hello there. And like they stopped and you could tell they wanted to talk. And you were like, hey, you know, do I know you? And they were like, alabaster. Like you would give them a fake one like back to them.
He'd harbored similar suspicions since he first began investigating the case.
Wow, they show
After 20
everything
years
on
on the
here.
force,
Holy shit.
Lieutenant Krolak feels he's developed his own brand of
Do the
psychic
trees move
ability.
side to side?
He calls it intuition. But a cop's
cool.
intuition isn't always enough. That's where Noreen comes in.
People think that I can do this forever and ever. I work very few police cases because it exhausts me so terribly that day, that whatever day I worked, and the next day I'll be drained.
Long days of reliving brutal crimes, tracking missing children, finding bodies. Sometimes, Noreen says, the horrific visual images stay
See,
with her
that's
for
what I'm
days.
thinking.
That was certainly the case with...
I was just sitting here watching this and completely unrelated. I was like, oh my God, what if someone approaches me on the street and like they offer a passcode? What do I do? And I was like, I'm going to be too high to think about it in the moment. This is something I need to pre-plan for, you know?
Noreen's work on the Cohn murders. Even though she never...
Someone comes up and they're like, they ask something like, you know, the stork crows at midnight, and you're just like, I understand. Neo-vajayjay.
visited the crime scene, Noreen was haunted by one particular face. Her psychic visions were overwhelming.
We brought down 10 photographs. She looked through.
Now I'm picturing it as like a dialogue tree. And like, since I have a high deficit to intellect while I'm high, that's like against me. But then since I'm visualizing like Skyrim or Fallout type dialogue tree where one of them is just attack. Like you could just end the conversation and attack. So somebody comes up and is like, the crow lives in the bank vault, and it's just like attack, and then the aggro music starts.
Through the 10 photographs, put a few aside, went back and looked at them again, and then picked up the 3 that she put aside. Put one
exactly,
aside and said,
Stephen David.
This is the shooter, this is the killer. Took another one, put it aside, said that she believes this is an associate. Picks the 3rd one, who turns out to be the grandson, and said he was
That guy
part
looks
of
like
this.
he's no good.
She was accurate on all 3.
In a sad twist of fate, Noreen had pointed to the son of the woman who had originally hired Noreen to work on the case.
I know that she put us in a direction that we've overlooked. The alibi, the grandson.
Did he say alibi or alabaster?
Certain other bits and pieces that she gave us that opened our eyes to something else.
Lieutenant Krolak admits that without Noreen's help, the Cone case may never have been solved.
Hit him with a pedigree.
It's not my work. It's my life. Anything they want me to do, I'll try.
Nobody says passcodes
I feel
to
like
me,
I'm just sort of a tool. They use
Time
other
to
tools.
play the
I'm just one of
game.
the tools they use to get more information to find the bad guys.
Oh, look at this cool shot. Neat.
The shooters, Keith Snare and
Grifter
Robert
in a
Charles Skinner,
gazebo.
were
Now
both
that's a
sentenced to
movie,
60
right?
years in prison
That's a
without
movie.
the possibility of parole. James Mariani, who was the Cone's grandson, was sentenced to 40 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Noreen Rainier continues to work as a psychic detective.
They named the mountain
Next
after
on Sightings, alien abductees receive a terrifying
Alibaba.
message from their captors.
We are
I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to say Alibaba. That could upset VP since she recently had listen, I want to be clear on this because I want to make sure that I'm giving the truth about VP with no slant. When VP met up with Aladdin, she said that she did not have penetrative sex with him, but that she did allow hand stuff. So she did hand stuff with Aladdin, so I don't want her to think that I'm making fun of Aladdin.
The most controversial
saying
subject
Alibaba.
we investigate on Sightings is alien abduction.
The
More and
green,
more
the
seemingly credible people
gray,
are coming
the
forward,
gray
claiming that
aliens
they've
and the
been
men in
abducted,
black,
probed,
as they were
and
portrayed on these
manipulated by
shows, were always
aliens.
creepy to me.
And now there's a new pattern developing.
Yeah, I've seen that one
Supposed
story we've received.
abductees are returning from their experiences with a cautionary message for us all.
There's a new frightening chapter in the abduction.
In fact, VP considers herself, she didn't say that she's trad, but she said that she's more trad than people think when it comes to her body count of the JJ.
Story. Many abductees
I think she
are
did rub
claiming that their
Aladdin's
alien
lamp.
captors send them home with a
Well, I don't know. She didn't. VP only kind of described her experience. So maybe she wasn't really focused on Aladdin.
apocalyptic predictions about life.
I posted if you go into my VP playlist, I made a video called "A Whole New World." VP in a hotel in the motel room with Aladdin. It's a pretty interesting video.
On Earth, it's a terrifying conclusion to an already horrible ordeal.
I mean, yeah, I think it's worth a watch. I mean, it's not one of my favorites, but I think it's definitely entertaining enough to watch once. Yeah.
I'm on my back on the bed and she's at the foot
Street rat
of my
has
bed. She's
nibble
doing something
finger.
to
I'm
me.
pretty sure people were
Had this
saying that in the
flashback
chat.
of being on this table, being surrounded by these beings.
Is VP into DP? I don't know. I don't know. I have a video up of her where she deep dives her preferences and her body count. If it's also in the VP playlist, but I can't remember offhand. What's up? It's me. She doesn't seem like she would be. She claims that now she has to have like an emotional connection with somebody. So maybe I don't know if she could have, if she had two emotional connections at the same time.
I don't know what she was doing. She had some sort of an instrument in her hand.
Little gray guys with big dark eyes, and one of them's putting a needle in my neck.
Oh no.
Until recently, the story would end there. But now abductees are returning with more than horror stories. They feel they are intergalactic messengers who must deliver dire predictions.
Oh boy.
This new mission intrigues Harvard professor John Mack. This Pulitzer Prize-winning psychiatrist at Cambridge Hospital is now treating people he calls experiencers. In his new book, Abduction, Mac presents
VP have
13 case histories.
I thought this is crazy. I mean, I thought this is not possible. I'd seen many, many cases.
I'm going to go out on a limb, Daninsky. I'm not going to, I don't know for sure, but if I had to hazard a guess based on the trajectory since I've watched, I'm going to say no.
And worked for 2 years before I
the
said,
events that I've witnessed would lead me to say no.
There's something like what they're saying.
Dr. John Return of
seen
the
them
Mac.
in your room in bright sun daylight. What did you see?
Currently working with over 100 patients, Dr. Mac's clinical approach gives abductees a chance to talk openly about their experiences.
Yeah.
I would have experiences that were so real, that were so lucid, they were every bit as real as me talking to you now, and yet I would dismiss them because they were so out of context.
Joe is a successful businessman from Massachusetts who's had abduction memories since early
Hold
childhood.
on a second. Prime time
he kept
viewer?
these experiences to
Same
himself
timeline,
until
same
hearing
time,
about Dr. Mac's
time
study.
period.
His abduction history is outlined in Mac's book. It's a detailed chronicle of otherworldly...
VP is very trad on the penetrative sex. And much like Grace, I think VP probably views me as a fan first and foremost. You know what I mean?
Control and
I
painful
assume
medical
anyway.
experimentation.
VP has never said anything inappropriate to me. I'll put it that way. Well, she hasn't said anything inappropriate as far as anything sexual to me. But I mean, like, a lot of things she says are probably inappropriate to a lot of people.
Put something up my nose and was very disarming. And yet there's that sense of almost a split self, because there's a part of me that's terrified and doesn't understand, and yet there's this other part of me that they've already explained the procedure to and why.
Over time, Joe's abduction experiences have changed. In an extraterrestrial version of the Stockholm Syndrome, he has less fear and has begun identifying with his captors.
Once they begin to come to terms with their terror of
No, not at all.
Trauma, the experience tends to transform. They feel they're somehow connected with these beings, and they experience the beings themselves as closer to the source, which is a term they use very often, or home.
It was the most profound experience of my life.
But that kind of profound transformation does not happen in every case.
The first being that I ever saw consciously in my entire life was sitting right here.
Diane, a software test engineer, is also a patient of Dr. Mac's. She's documenting her encounters with these watercolor pictures.
Oh,
This
wow.
picture was in the fall of '92. It
Who
took
made
place here
these?
in
Her
the
kid?
house, and I woke up.
Oh,
Started
shit.
to pivot around, found I couldn't move, and something
Show it again,
released, and
damn
I
it.
said I could move. I scanned the room. Just
Okay, I like this guy here. kind of an interesting. Why is he wearing a? Is that a dunce cap or a Klan hat? What's going on? And then this is her. She's this lamp structure.
give up, and I see a small gray female being sitting there just waiting for me to spot her. And then I don't know whether she flew or what, but she sure came across the bed fast, right up to my face. And steered right like this.
Although the experiences don't fit our notions of reality, there's no reason to believe that they're not telling the truth, or that something occurred to them that is real and they're telling it truthfully.
To corroborate these personal beliefs, Dr. Mack searches for parallels among abduction stories. The most common thread, and ironically the most extraordinary, involves reproductive experiments.
Sperm
KKK
samples
alien.
taken from the men by a cup put over the penis, some kind of vibratory energy that causes an ejaculation. Eggs taken from the women.
Hold on, what now?
Is done
Well, wait, let
between
me
the
use my
egg and
arrows.
Eggs taken from the women. Energy that men by a cup put over the penis, some kind of vibratory energy that causes.
Okay, so they put a stroker on the guy to extract the golden goo.
This is an ejaculation.
That's what Ben
Eggs
needs.
taken from the women. Something is done between the egg and the sperm, which may be reimplanted in the woman in a subsequent abduction. Then that will be taken, the fetus will be taken from them at a later time. That's their experience.
I flew out the window like a sucking, vacuumed out feeling with all the air pushed out of me.
That's what I'm talking about.
I ended up on a craft, laying down on a table, and next thing I know, I see a child. One of those ugly little gray things is holding a child.
Look at this painting. Oh my God, he's got a spider in one eye. What a bizarre picture, man.
Child up, and I said, no, that didn't come out of me. At the end of that experience, I
looks like an
blacked
album
out
cover.
and came true standing on this platform, and I was not home anymore. I was somewhere else. I don't know where this was. I felt like I was on a ship.
The emotion is so appropriate to a real experience. Dreams don't operate like that. Fantasy isn't like that. Trauma displaced from some of the source isn't like that. It isn't just a traumatic story. It's a complicated, consistent narrative that operates clinically altogether like a real experience.
The complicated, consistent narrative Dr. Mack's patients describe always has a beginning, middle, and most recently, the same exact ending. Before they are returned home, the abductees are warned about an impending apocalypse, unless all people on Earth drastically change their way of thinking.
We are told that...
It might have been Laughing Cedar. Can you imagine, like, you're just going about your business, you know, living your life. You get abducted by aliens. They drain your balls on loop, right? Then they take you back, and then they're like, hey, listen, by the way, the world is ending. Like, can you imagine getting that kind of information after, like, you're in such a state of post-nut clarity that, like, all of your chakra are aligned and, like, you can see through the veil, and then these aliens drop the fact that the world is ending on you?
That the human experience, the human race,
the narc undercover
is
narco. Good. That's a little bit better.
To be non-viable, not extinct. It can't survive. My own sense of it, and this is like purely speculative, is that we are also.
I thought you were saying that I was a undercover reporter for the New York Post doing a story on controversial
be responsible for a higher consciousness.
Online figures.
We've become so far from the Creator, so distant from the source, that we have.
Well, that alien can take the baby right back to the Krypton or wherever it came from.
At a cosmic level now.
The message is: wake up, grow up.
Yeah, that they just extracted everything from that guy, dropped him off at home, and then told him the world was ending. They had that like milking machine, like a hyper efficient milking machine.
Sandbox that you're littering is not your own.
I had to make sure not to say any names after that phrase.
You don't need to feel the sense of isolation and separation.
I was thinking about somebody though,
that you're part
as an efficient milking machine.
According to a recent Roper poll, 1 in 50
Groper
American adults
poll
exhibits at least 4 out of the 5 most common symptoms reported by alien abductees.
Empty
That's
balls
a staggering
was number
statistic,
1.
because it seems to indicate that 2% of our adult population is experiencing something for which no one has a conclusive
So
explanation.
much for aftercare, yeah.
Next, is NASA hiding a startling discovery?
NASA knows more.
They're hiding these milking
structures
machines.
on Mars, possible extraterrestrials that they're not telling us about.
In 1976, the Viking mission to Mars sent back the first high-resolution photographs ever taken of the Martian surface. And since then, 2 additional missions have attempted to get even closer, but
we're to
both
Mars.
failed. In 1990, a Russian Mars probe named Phobos disappeared.
Hey, King TL.
And in 1993, a U.S. probe, the Mars Observer, met a similar fate.
Hey, Cody Turbo, you didn't like the ball draining
carried some of
aliens?
the most sophisticated equipment
Now we're getting
ever
a
sent into space.
rocket taken
The
off.
observer's mission was to conduct a comprehensive photographic survey of Earth's nearest planetary neighbor.
Well, for some people, yeah. For other people, it could be like you're just like existential. You don't. Some guys maybe feel shame, but then like you could get existential. You could like if you nutted hard enough, you could probably like tap into the like, a little bit of astral projection.
Mars. But while on approach to the Martian surface,
Yeah, why
the
is
observer
the
failed.
Trump administration
Curiously,
holding back
one
this
area the
information
probe
on
was
these
supposed
milking
to be
machines?
photographing at the time was a controversial region called Cydonia. Pictures taken in 1976 seem to show artificial structures in this area. Just when the observers seemed to be moving in for a closer look,
Yeah, this
NASA
government is
said
milk
technical
blocking us.
malfunction. No more pictures.
It's quite possible that NASA knows more about anomalous structures on Mars, possible extra...
Or how many inventions and ideas are the result of guys trying to get that post-nut clarity? Like Savvy Guy's he went through mechanic school. He's trying to do that so that he can put his face in some cheeks and get that post-nut clarity. So some of that might be motivated by guys trying to get a nut. They're like, the guy's like, I've got to invent the telephone or I'm never going to get a nut.
The terrestrials, even structures on our moon that they're not telling us about.
There is sufficient evidence to indicate that some of the objects on Mars may possibly be artificial.
NASA's position is that nothing has been constructed on the surface of Mars. The face and pyramids that appear in the 1976
Hopefully
pictures are
you would
just
at least
tricks of light
contribute
and
to
shadow.
the invention of the telephone or something,
But
Stephen
these
David.
computer-enhanced 3D images seem to disprove NASA's claims. They show that the face on Mars is clearly visible, no matter where it is in relation to the sun.
I was quite interested with the first photos and release of the face on Mars. But particularly I thought it was interesting the pyramidal structures. That some of these pyramids appear to have even a central stairway running up and down them. The more we look at these structures, the more we can see that there's something amazing here.
Some researchers believe that NASA is withholding important photos and data taken in the Cydonia region. They suggest NASA created the observer malfunction story to hide what could be the greatest archaeological...
He posted I didn't watch it. I think I'm going to save it for Boyd Watch. Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty tempted. But the name of the video was Family Ain't No Different Than Strangers or something like that.
Discovery of all time.
If some people want to go far beyond the edge of what's
James
accepted in terms
Oberg.
of imagery, see patterns on the rocks of Mars or on the moon or in the rings of Saturn, my view to that is mazel tov. Go ahead, do it. Try it out. Make your proposals.
Stan McDaniel is a retired professor who has conducted an in-depth study of the Mars structures. He is intrigued by the seemingly deliberate placement of the face in relation to the pyramids.
These objects, if you measure carefully from the tops of the 5 that surround this city square point, you find an almost perfectly symmetrical pentagon.
If NASA does have new information about these reportedly artificial structures on Mars, why are they hiding it from the public? An
Kurt
advisory report
Rambis.
from the
Oh
Brookings
man, remember Kurt
Institution,
Rambis? What a
Washington,
character.
D.C.-based think tank, may hold the answer.
There is a section on what might occur if evidence of extraterrestrial existence was found on other planets.
Imagine being back in the day doing a bunch of coke and finger cuffing a chick with Kurt Rambis.
They said that NASA or the government might want to consider keeping the information from the public. The reason being that it could cause widespread social unrest and possible deterioration of government control.
The official NASA position is that there is no cover-up. They insist Mars observers suffered a catastrophic electrical failure, rendering it inoperable.
The official
It
stance.
did not lose transmission.
Does he see his dad anymore?
They turned it
I'm
off.
not sure about that.
And they turned
The
it
dad
off
stories
after
always seem to be in the past,
instructions
kind of,
for
to
going
me,
into
whereas
orbit had
the
been
mom stories are
uploaded
more
to
current.
the spacecraft. It was
Yeah,
possible
finger
then that the
cuffing.
spacecraft would go ahead, follow out those instructions, and go into orbit.
Before we start saying how these rocket scientists messed up, and they did mess up, we have to keep realizing
It really
just
was
how
Rush
tough these
Limbaugh. It's why the
projects
art's
are.
good. There's no
That
denying it.
We're doing things out there.
You can look at it from any perspective that you want to, and ultimately the reason that the art has gone downhill is the lack of drugs.
Space every time we do it. That
I'm
no
not
one
trying to
even thought
glamorize
was
that or
possible a
celebrate
few
it.
years or decades
I mean,
ago.
I'm just
These
saying
are really
that's
incredibly
the
tough
truth.
missions to accomplish.
The debate may end in 1996, when NASA plans on launching a new Mars probe. This may be the second chance ufologists are hoping will prove the existence of an ancient
But you need
civilization.
you kind of need
on
everybody along the chain doing it. The executives
In
approving
addition
the
to
budget,
the formations on Mars,
down to the creative
one research
people,
group is studying what appear to be strange structures
limo
on the surface
drivers.
of the moon. This photograph of the lunar surface shows two geometric shapes. The circle could be a crater, but the triangle seems unlike any other naturally occurring formations that we know on the moon.
If you've had a paranoid...
Speaking of cocaine, if you guys haven't seen the interview where Jedi Joy interviewed Bethadone, it's got some real eye-opening cocaine-related content.
Normal experience. Call the Sightings hotline at 1-900-933-SIGHT. That's 1-900-933-7444. Each call 65 cents a minute. Average call lasts 3 minutes. Sightings is also online.
Yes,
Our email
Cody
address
Turbo,
is
exactly.
sightings@aol.com. On the next edition of Sightings, scientists close in on Bigfoot.
It's a very tough.
That is very
coded. I think we're the people who are going to find one.
A paralyzed boy prays for death.
It was definitely like I was possessed.
And is saved by the light.
I came back and I was a different man.
Then, alien abduction. Could you be next?
How about the
I know something
accountants?
has happened to me,
Can be sober.
but I was in extreme denial.
Until next time, remember, no mystery is closed to an open mind. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Henry Winkler. Oh my God, he's knocked over the
On
weed.
Sci-Fi, The Sentinel.
The movie? Okay, let's go.
I go on.
If you find out the Jedi have been taking stimulants, ooh, I'm gonna make a video.
It's a very tough task to find one of these things. I think we're the people
How
who are
you
going
doing,
to find
Distinction?
one, almost certainly.
Jedi Rich, are you being bad?
It was definitely like I was possessed.
A supernatural light guides him home.
I came back and I was a different man.
Then, alien abduction. Could you be next?
In the beginning, I thought I was going crazy. I know something has happened to me, but I was in extreme denial.
And later, these people have seen a vision of their future lives.
I was a little afraid the first time
I don't think I saw the
experienced my
series.
death in this life.
What's this? Sasquatch, intuition, abduction, horrors, and crop circles. The Jedi will not only take a drug test, they'll take a drug test live on stream, and Joy will literally pee on stream so that there's no doubt about the results.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. In business, competition,
You haven't lived
and
until you've
secrecy
seen
are
Jedi
par for the
Rich
course.
film Joy on the
Well, the same
toilet.
holds true for paranormal investigators. That's a problem, especially for investigators in search of Bigfoot, who need to keep track of sightings and possible migration patterns. Now, one organization is trying to collect every
man, let's
report,
go.
footprint, and eyewitness account into one communal database.
Sasquatch.
It's called the Bigfoot Research Project, headquartered
Oh, that was a
here
nice
in the heart of
transition.
Bigfoot country, the Cascade Mountains of the Pacific Northwest. For the first time,
this tech.
Sasquatch is online, and every possible
Can you
sighting,
imagine if
noise,
this is what the
footprint,
internet
air
was like,
sample, and
guys,
anecdote
now?
is being checked out, cross-referenced, and rechecked. Already, the computer analysis is
All the drug tests that I've seen, and I think I've posted most of them on the Way of the Jedi thing, I think, have come back positive for weed, negative for everything else.
paying off. This color film was shot by Roger Patterson in 1967.
More milking,
It has never been
please.
proven to be a hoax. These are footprints shot on videotape just weeks ago. They
June
were discovered in the
26,
same area the
1994.
Patterson footage was shot. And the size of the prints and the length
21
of the
years
stride
ago,
correspond
almost.
exactly to the creature discovered 25 years earlier.
One of the questions that arises is, when is one going to be found? There's no answer to that. Today, a week from now, 10 years from now.
You're looking at
nobody
that
knows.
mountain right
There are
now?
no guarantees. The way we're going with our project, which is a very sophisticated project, I think we're the people who are going to find one, almost certainly.
The project is receiving grant money from the Academy of Applied Science in Boston, Massachusetts. This prestigious institution believes Peter Byrne deserves a chance to bring one in alive.
It's not easy. It's a very tough task to find one of these things. We're dealing with something which is shy, elusive, very wary of man, which has an enormous area to live in and to hide in, and it's not going to be found easily.
While Sightings was shooting this interview, a call came into the project. Independent eyewitnesses were reporting something moving at the base of Mount Hood. Byrne's team responded immediately.
They're clearly visible, and they definitely are primates of some kind.
Used to have to haul all the photographic equipment out and lenses and filters and everything like that just to get this kind of footage, and now you can just take your phone and zoom into a single pebble on the top of the mountain.
Above these rocks, two shapes were moving at approximately 2 miles an hour. There were no reports of hikers at that time, but the distance was too great to confirm this as a Bigfoot sighting. It will be used to corroborate any other sightings in the same area. Photographs like this one come in every day, but Byrne quickly rules out all but a very few.
This is a fake footprint. It's very square. You can see the line of the toes across the top here. Simply
What if,
straight, which
do
is
you
wrong.
think they would let you watch YouTube during the
and
milking
it's recognizable
process?
as a fake footprint, probably made with a wooden mold of some kind.
This is an important videotape the Bigfoot Research Project is concentrating on right now.
It's from Northern California, and it's from late last year. And
is that dark side Phil?
The photographers say that in here, in the center of the picture there, just there.
The dark area?
The dark area. You can
He lived
see
to be
something, and you can see something
97?
moving.
Wow.
Independent
What a run.
Bigfoot researchers Scott Harriott and Daryl Owen captured these images in Northern California. It was their first face-to-face
That's like
encounter with an elusive
53
creature they've been
years
tracking
older
for
than,
10
no wait,
years.
51 years older than I
can see
am
him
right
pointing
now.
at something after about
Man,
29
another 51
seconds.
years?
He then lowered the camera, looked at me, and started crying. I mean, he literally had a little minor break, started crying, and said, "Let's get out of here." I was very scared at that point as well. We went down the hill.
I'm crying at this moment, so excuse my voice. It's right here. You can see it. Okay.
The footage is being analyzed at Wonderfilm Design. Here, advanced computer enhancement technology allows researchers to take a closer look.
Right here would be the head and the arm down this way. Now let me rock back and forth here, and as you can see...
So the guy was crying
that
because he
it's
thought he
something right
finally
there is
had the
moving
real,
while
the
everything
the
else in the
proof?
picture stays static.
There is something unusual moving in the thick woods of the
Looks like a
Cascade
bird
Range,
inside
but
of the
Bigfoot
tree.
Research Project remains cautious in their optimism. Hoaxes are rampant in a field where film and videotape are considered still the best evidence. Especially in the 1960s and 70s, it seemed like everyone with a fursuit and a lot of spare time was coming up with supposedly authentic photographic evidence. Only a few pieces
Wow,
of
the
photographic
50s?
evidence have deserved serious attention. But even these compelling images aren't enough to satisfy scientists.
I have to say that I'm a skeptic regarding the Sasquatch. It would probably be, if we were able to verify its existence,
Jim
the
Foster,
most exciting
primate
biological
expert.
find of the century. Until we find physical evidence that's indisputable.
This is like Ben
I think
being
that
taken away by the
all scientists
Sturbridge
have
police.
to take a rather pessimistic view as to its existence.
Wildlife biologist John Bindernagel is one scientist who no longer shares the pessimistic view of his mainstream colleagues.
I was very slow to come out of the closet, very slow to talk about this. I was concerned about my employability.
This guy's drunk
Biologists
right now.
weren't really accepting this as an actual animal. So I still remained very quiet, and I'm not sure why in the end I came out. I guess I found in the last few years, talking to people, that people weren't as disbelieving as they used to be.
One reason may
Oh,
be
look
the
at this thing.
overwhelming number of anomalous
I like that.
tracks
That's
recently
kinda neat.
cited in Washington state.
Down through
Grace
here,
Harbor in
it's-
Aberdeen.
There's a heel spot right here. It's about 3 to 4 inch wide here.
Aberdeen is like, for me anyway, like I can't even think about it without thinking about the 90s. So that's a good it's a good place for a 90s show to be taking place.
Comes up across, and here's a toe down through here. In this area. In this particular area, there are two that are hanging in this area here. They've been here for better than a year now that they've had people who have seen them.
Skeptical scientists put Bigfoot into the same mythological creature category as leprechauns, fairies, and gnomes. But Bigfoot researchers ask, when was the last time you saw color film of a leprechaun?
That's kind of
Have you ever
true.
seen the footprints of a gnome? Well,
They're
of course
all
not.
like test tube
Bigfoot
babies,
is
right, or
different,
whatever
they insist.
IVF.
He's out there
Is that
somewhere,
a
and finding him is just a
non-PC
matter
term?
of timing, patience, and luck.
You would think that every inch of the Pacific Northwest would have been scoured by now. But since 1948, over 50 airplanes have crashed in Washington state, never to be seen again. If
Yeah,
large
Aberdeen,
reflective
Washington. That's
metal
where a bunch of the
craft have
bands came
remained
from.
Undetected
Mike
for as long as
Chuddy.
50 years. Perhaps it's not so far-fetched that researchers have yet to recover a Bigfoot.
Well, you know what? You might be onto something, ATF Media, because who would know better how to cover up their or how to leave deceptive tracks than a guy who sells tires for a living? You know what I mean?
A young boy's encounter with a supernatural
I see
light
what you're doing
saves him from certain death.
It was very dark and lonely, and that was just replaced by a brilliant light.
Aberdeen, South Dakota. That's where King TL lives.
What happened to Will Barton was nothing short of a tragedy. After a serious fall, doctors told the 16-year-old
He's in a
that
Pearl Jam
it would
cover
be a
band.
miracle if he ever walked again. Will Barton believes that first angels and then a near-death experience created that miracle in his life.
Will's transformation began here on the family's 1,000-acre ranch in Carmen, Idaho. They call it God's country, a clean, safe place to raise a family, a place that tragedy usually forgets.
We were having a family reunion, and all of my brothers and sisters were together for the first time in probably 5 years. And we were having a really enjoyable time together. We had decided that we would have Christmas before everybody went home, and William was assigned to get the Christmas tree.
This is like
Will
a trad
and his
farm.
friend Matt volunteered to drive into the mountains in search of the perfect Christmas tree.
And just, boom, I saw the tree I wanted. It was just beautiful.
Will wanted to climb the tree and cut off just the top, but his friend warned him it was too dangerous.
I didn't see any danger. The hill was very, very steep. The tree was very, very tall. And it was starting to get dark. It was definitely like I was possessed to get the tree.
After a brief, breathtaking moment at the top,
Victim
Will's
of
life
tree
changed
lust.
forever.
I just was enjoying the beauty when I could feel my arms scrambling out, trying to find branches, but I didn't have any control. I remember hitting the ground, but it wasn't very intense, like you might think. It was just like jelly was splatting on the floor.
Oh
and
my
I
God.
couldn't feel anything.
Will had fallen 50 feet into a steep ravine. His friend Matt needed help to rescue him.
We were all in the home. Some of us were playing games, playing with the kids, and
Fur face. Look at this
all
hair.
of a sudden, one of the brothers ran in and said, somebody's been hurt. So we started putting up a search, and we searched, and we searched, and we searched, and finally we found him.
Will's sister Julie and brother Brad scrambled down the rocky slope. The temperature was dropping rapidly, and there was snow. They struggled to carry Will up to the road, but couldn't. They needed more strength and stopped on the cliffside to ask for that strength through prayer.
Will told us later that he saw several what he perceived to be white men, angels, so to
White
speak,
men?
just come out
Why
of
would
heaven
that
and
be
just carry
strange?
him up the rest of the way out of the mountain. And it was incredible.
saw
Our
some
strength
white
was totally
guys?
renewed, and we just went up the rest of the way.
This angelic vision and his
Well, he was a
rescuers'
victim of
renewed
possession,
strength may have been
gobbledygook.
key to Will's survival. Will was rushed from the scene to a local hospital, and the nightmare was just beginning.
When Will arrived in the emergency room, he was hypothermic, meaning he had a low body temperature from lying in the
Dr.
snow
James
for
F.
a
Todd.
couple of hours. He was totally paralyzed, although he was breathing on his own.
Victim of
We did
familial
a
breathing.
portable neck x-ray after he had been stabilized, and that x-ray revealed a fracture dislocation of the cervical vertebrae C4 on C5.
I remember the doctor examining me and saying he had a needle or he had something sharp, and he was saying, "Do you feel this? No. Do you feel this? No. Do you feel this? No."
Will was immediately transferred to the intensive care unit at St. Patrick's Hospital in Missoula, Montana. Prognosis was not good, and Will began to deteriorate physically and mentally.
When Will was taken to Missouri. Not good.
The chances of recovering are
everybody's two first names. Henry Gary. Come on.
Laid there, and kind of like he was in a trance. And I said, "What's happening, Will?" And he says, "I'm just practicing being a vegetable."
To me, it's the most single devastating injury that people get because they're locked inside.
Well, now I
want to
see that, ladies.
Anything, it comes as a sudden thing, and almost every instance, from 1 minute laughing, having a good time, to
Montana.
Sudden, I've done something I shouldn't have done, and it.
Oh yeah, Missoula, Montana.
Back together, and we say no, we can't.
I'd pray at night, and my prayer was, "Please let me die. If I could have, I would have taken my life. But I couldn't. I couldn't move. So I did the only thing I could do. I asked my mother."
He says, "If you really love me, you'd get me out of my misery, and you'd take this pillow and put it over my face."
And she just looked back at me with loving eyes and couldn't respond.
Will had lost all hope of
remember that movie Barton Fink?
He became uncooperative and refused to participate in rehabilitation exercises. Then, an unfortunate mistake changed Will's life once again.
They got me on the tilt table and tilted me up way too fast. And I do remember I could see the floor for the first time in my new life. And I could feel the blood just running out of my head.
Hey, Gobbledygook, what do you think about that one? Okay, like, imagine in your mind that Joy's cooking in the bathroom. And, like, if you look down and to the left on screen, there's that one. Like, over on the far right, there's another cabinet door, too. But there's, like, that one that's really prominent that's over on the left side, down at the bottom. What do you think about that cabinet door?
And the room started to get a little bit dark and splotchy.
And he just passed out, and the nurse couldn't get a blood pressure. We couldn't get a heartbeat.
I want to die. And all those prayers that I'd said every night were answered. It was very dark.
Sounds like brain injury. Related, Bethadone put up her first members-only video, and it's a story about her doing drug-fueled amateur dentistry on herself. So you should definitely check that out if you're a member over on the Bethadone Clinic.
Dark and lonely. And that was just replaced by a brilliant light that just completely drowned the darkness. And my whole soul was just completely immersed in this light.
Will says the light offered him a choice.
To die and go where this light was taking
that
me.
Cabinet door is like a whole character to me.
He started to turn blue. By this time, the other nurse had gotten oxygen to him.
And as I laid there, consumed by this light, with the choice to make about quitting, I thought about meeting my God and looking at him and saying, "I quit." And I couldn't do that.
Then his diaphragm started taking over again, and he was breathing shallowly again.
I came back and I was a different man. I could just feel my face shining, and I just glowed.
Will says he was transformed by the experience that took him to the very brink of death.
Transformed?
I've heard and read of these various episodes of people seeing the light.
Oh, I thought he had a tattoo of Saturn on his arm for a
experiences,
second.
And I'm sure that there's
really
something that occurs. I don't think we have any scientific explanation.
Before the accident, William was very shy. After his experience, it was like the dam broke and his whole being came out, and we got to know William at that point.
I was going to live my life. And the doctors kept saying, "You'll never walk."
I'm heavily considering starting to save up some money, flying out to Las Vegas, visiting the Jedi Temple just to fix that cabinet door. One of my favorite VP arcs is, I don't remember who she was staying with, but there was like a towel ring on one side of the room, and she flipped it up one day and then refused to flip it down. And the longer it was up, the more mad chat got about it. And eventually she did flip it down, and it was like such an amazing moment.
Walk again, Will.
But Will's near-death experience had given him a new determination, and he began to have hints of feeling throughout his body.
Sounds like it, media hits.
And we were so excited. I remember running out to the barn and I'm going
Barton.
to my twin brother and saying, Rick, he moved his toe. And we just sat there and held each other and cried over a toe movement. It was almost like every week we'd get a new phone call saying, he sat up, he's, walking now, he's standing up.
What happened to Will when he saw that intense light cannot be easily explained. His family attributes the transformation to their
these people would have a reality show now.
Doctors have a harder time explaining Will's recovery.
Conventional medical wisdom would have said that he would be totally paralyzed for life, and I certainly would call this a miracle.
If you define a miracle as something that occurs very, very rarely, I mean, it's probably somewhat analogous to winning the lottery.
He's had a chance to have his life, to lose his life as he knows it, and to have it back again. And that's something that very few people get the chance to do in this life.
It's like OPC after he fell after his
Since his
skull
near-fatal
injury.
accident, Will Barton has gone from paralysis to first a walker, then braces, a cane, and now he walks on his own. Doctors have stopped putting limits on what he may be capable of next.
What do you feel about this inspiring story of the triumph of the human spirit? Call now and let us know. 65 cents per minute, average phone call, 3 minutes.
With his recovery in full swing, Will is on to the next challenge. He's enrolled in college.
Next, is intuition more than a feeling? Is it a psychic ability we all possess?
25% of Americans tend to rely on their intuition.
What?
Intuition has been described as knowing something without knowing
Hey, mindful
how you
exposures.
know it. It's also called gut instinct, hunch, or even ESP. Some researchers believe that intuition is a spark, and that many people can be taught
It
how
just
to
crack.
take
I'll
that
like
spark and use
I've never even mentioned it to him, but like it's just little things like that kind of crack me up. Like our little like ongoing weed brain storylines.
it to ignite a greater psychic power.
Intuition is knowing without knowing how you know. And for some people, that means you get a flash, you see something in your mind's eye, you hear an inner voice.
I feel like it's a mutually beneficial thing. Ava promotes Healthy Family Force like all the time, which is getting, whether it might be some negative, but I mean like she's advertising constantly for them. Rich puts her over, sometimes too.
That says, don't trust that person when you first meet them. It's a way of knowing something that goes beyond
Lori
what we think of
Nadell.
as rational,
She wrote The Sixth
logical
Sense.
knowing.
Wow, what a movie.
Author Lori Nadell believes this so-called sixth sense is present in everyone.
Oh, look
And
at
that
what a
lot of people
natural
use their
actress.
intuitive power without even knowing it. How you perform in the workplace is a good indication of whether or not you're tapping into your psychic power.
Certain people will go in and they'll do a lot of studies, and they'll do time management studies and cost analyses, and they'll get all the numbers and all the data, and then you'll have somebody who's like a troubleshooter who's kind
I
of
don't
a
think I have
maverick, and that
gobbledygook.
person might go in and say, look, I want to talk to these 3 people, and they'll talk to 3 people for 20 minutes apiece, and they'll come up with a big picture of what's wrong.
Long-term studies are now testing for
Do you think the Jedi would understand if I wanted to collab, but solely to fix the cabinet door and then I would leave?
intuitive ability, trying to determine if certain people are more psychically tuned in than others.
25% of Americans tend to rely on their intuition.
Well, and I'll do
75%
nunchucks with them while I'm
tend
there.
to use their 5
But then I
physical
gotta go.
senses. Now, the same studies, when given to children, they find that 51% of children like to rely on their intuition for problem solving. And a lot of people
milk
come
cow.
to me saying, when I was a child, it seemed to me that it was more natural for me. It was easier for me to trust my feelings, to trust my instincts, to come up with quick answers. And now I'm always second guessing myself.
I know mine was activated. I didn't realize that I had this.
Finally, some
and it
accents
seems to
happening.
occur for me in very threatening, life-threatening, fearful situations.
She's got her
or
OnlyFans
in
set
very
up back
intense
here.
Cases.
They're going to make the arrest if it was across state lines against her.
Oh, I think I saw a story about that, Cody
Jane
Turbo.
Finnegan believes it was her intuitive ability that kept her alive during the 14 years she served as a New York City police officer. Today, she's a private investigator.
Or they went to bed and apparently
Why is the light
everything was
off in that
fine.
room?
When you have a
Why are
missing
they working
person,
in the
there'll
dark?
be a certain format that you'll follow. You'll find out if they had a driver's license, if they had a vehicle, and evidence.
My
and
intuition is
things to
telling
lead
me
you
that
in an
this
area.
lady's
But I
bullshit.
believe that what tangent you choose is generally an instinct and intuitive
Look
sense.
at all of her war medals, though.
I'm sure
She
my
might
voice
be
would
a
have like a stroke as I'm saying
tough
this, but
character.
it is true.
Researchers now believe that women are able to pick up on kind of subliminal cues and eye movements, breathing, posture, physiology,
Well.
pupils dilating, very subtle cues, physiology, cues and eye movements, breathing, posture, physiology, cues and eye movements, breathing, posture, physiology, pupils dilating, very subtle cues.
No, I couldn't do
men may
that.
not be aware of, and
Gobbledygook.
out of that, they are able to come up with a picture that this is somebody to trust or this is somebody not to trust. So I've had a number of women come to me
No
and
more
say,
milking.
this is a fairly common story. My husband had a business partner, and he brought his business partner in for dinner. And I told him after dinner, Fred, don't do it. This man is going to take advantage of you. You're going to get hurt. It's going to, you're going to get into trouble. And in each of these stories, of course, the man had gone off and hired the business partner, gotten into business with him. And a year and a half later, they found that the partner had embezzled, or they were bankrupt, or he had stolen, or he had done something.
I've come so much to trust my intuition.
I come
that
so much.
I really was able to develop my
This lady's
psychic
a real
abilities, and I
bragger,
have since
wow.
become a professional psychic. And my home life is very exciting and interesting for me because my husband is a physicist.
Rich's
And I was
refrigerator.
even in touch with people at Princeton, Stanford. A lot of big universities are doing work on what we already know. We already know this.
Not everyone has the potential.
Oh, you know what would be good content if I was there anyway? Me and Rich riding that, is that Las Vegas roller coaster still around that's up on the hotel?
To be a professional psychic, but there are ways to better develop your own intuition. It's kind of like the old joke about Carnegie Hall. Practice, practice, practice.
Part of what you're learning how to do is to
Carolyn
focus
Lee.
your attention. Then you can actually ask your intuition or ask your hunches or gut feelings to give you answers to questions.
Beyond semantics, is there a difference between intuition and ESP? Our experts define intuition as foresight based on some degree of prior knowledge, no matter how small.
Yes, there fundamentally is a difference. Tell me if I'm wrong about this, okay? Intuition is specifically conjured up from you, a savvy guy would say, and your experiences, right? It's tailored to you. ESP is not tailored to you. ESP, in theory, is just showing you reality. Intuition is you giving yourself advice based on the summary of your thoughts and experiences. So I think there's fundamentally a difference. One is very personal. The other is just fact. Like in theory, if you believe in ESP. That's how I see it anyway.
Small that knowledge may be. Psychic ability, on the other hand, is foresight without any
Well, I don't mind waiting in line. That's good content for the Jedi.
prior knowledge.
People like line
Alien
content.
abduction, fantasy or fact?
Either there's something very special about this fantasy, or it's not a fantasy.
Could you be next? Then, have these people traveled through time? And a musical crop circle mystery.
It's like the only thing I've taken seriously.
When the first
Him
reported
implying
case of
that there
alien
was no
abduction,
difference.
the Betty and Barney Hill case, occurred in 1961, most serious researchers felt that it was just a blip on the paranormal screen. But since then, thousands of seemingly credible people have made
Abduction, horror, or hype? Is this the Greta Thunberg story?
similar claims.
There's this big black
Oh
triangle.
my gosh, look at Brian Koski. Wow.
Just
Experiencer. Oh my gosh, what a great
moving
cryon.
real slow. across the sky, and I kind of followed over, watched it, and it got to about here, kind of stopped, pivoted a little bit, made a hissing sound, and it kind of continued on to the north real slow, and I just kept watching it. I could see some little detail in the back, like little circles in a little square area, and I remember thinking, well, that's where that's where I went in through, was the bottom of it.
Brian
Not to think
Kosky
about
is
the
not
sea
lying.
covers
He
when you said
honestly
warm
believes he's been
feeling in
inside
the
an
chest.
alien spacecraft. He isn't trying to sell a book or get his proverbial 15 minutes of fame. He wants answers. What is happening to him?
What a great kid. Is this
The
Howard?
experts have
Is this a
radically
Howard
different
Stern bit?
opinions about the root causes of his encounters.
It's what we call waking dreams. When people start to fall asleep, on many occasions, they have a peculiar mixture.
Look
of,
at Robert Baker. We're seeing a
reality
haunted
and fantasy
library.
or dreams. And in this particular state of consciousness, which is an altered state, they see little
Doug.
aliens and they see spaceships and lights in the sky and so on.
A warm feeling
After
on
working
the
with
sea
more than
covers.
125 alleged abductees, psychiatrist Dr. Richard Boylan believes the abduction experience goes far beyond dreaming.
I was pretty skeptical personally, but when I saw people who were very mentally sound talking about these experiences,
Mentally
and
sound?
having nothing to gain
That'd
by
be nice to
putting
know
them
that
out
someone
there
thought you
and
were mentally
lots to
sound.
lose, I
Some
had to
of
start
us will
taking them
never have
seriously.
that feeling, but
Dr. Boylan encourages his patients to draw pictures of their extraterrestrial experiences. These images often arise during hypnotherapy sessions, where repressed memories are supposedly brought to the fore. Skeptics say these memories are unreliable, but in the case of Connie Smith, she not only has memories and visions, she believes she also has physical evidence.
Uh-oh,
I
here
just
we go.
woke up in the morning and I did have that groggy feeling that
Experiencer.
like I've been up all night, yet I got an 8-hour sleep. And I sat down on the couch and I looked down and I had a mark just above my knee.
Wow, what?
And
She's not looking
there
at her
was no
knee
pain
here.
to it. You could poke at it and there was no pain. And then I had a little scab in my belly
Well, this
button with a
top
little
is really,
pinhole
really something.
puncture mark in the middle. And for the most part, I just kind of kick it out, didn't think anything of it until my daughter came to me. She had the same huge bruise, which was not painful to her. Then I asked if I could see her belly button, and I checked.
Can I
and
see
she
your
had
belly button?
The same thing as I did.
Nothing in my
Oh,
psychiatric
wow,
education,
Dr. Rima
nothing in medical
LeBeau. I think
school
we saw her,
made
right,
me an
in a
expert
previous
on
episode?
ufology and
What a look, though.
extraterrestrials. They either exist or they don't exist.
Yeah,
They
this is
either
the lady that I
abduct
thought
people
was
or
like
they
a,
don't
she
abduct
looked like
people.
a
But that's not the
comedian,
issue. When somebody
stand-up
comes to me as a
comedian.
clinician, my job is to help them come to a point of comfort with their own experience.
Dr. Rima Lebo believes hypnotherapy may be unduly influencing alleged abductees. She uses biofeedback to achieve similar states
Very
of relaxation.
90s coded, for sure.
Surprisingly, she's hearing the same kinds of abduction
Is this
stories
the milking
that have
machine?
been reported by hypnotherapists.
They appear to have been overwhelmed by an episode outside their own control and making, which leaves them in a post-traumatic state. That's very interesting. Either there's something very special about this fantasy that causes what otherwise does not occur, or it's not a fantasy.
This was the craft I saw in 1973 out in the backyard. This is pretty much what it looked like.
Brian Kosky says his abduction was not a fantasy. He has vivid recollections of being aboard alien spacecraft.
Have these little silver panels that they tend to control a ship with their mind.
Interesting guy.
This is the tail they seem to do their
Oh, I
navigation
like these
from.
pictures,
I always
though.
saw those.
I know something has happened to me,
Oh, boy.
but I was in
Kurt
extreme
Maine.
denial.
They can't tell the difference between whether it was a memory or a real event, or whether it was imagination. And this is the problem.
Kurt had been
Weird
troubled
Al.
by periods of missing time. He remembers several episodes of coming to on his back porch. Not
Believe
knowing
that.
how or when
No
he'd
wonder he
gotten
doesn't
there.
remember it.
Under hypnosis, Kurt
Gooning
filled
on the
in
back
the missing
porch.
time.
I looked down the stairs to my right, and standing there was a being that is very hard to describe. It's unlike anything I have ever
Sky would have been a
seen
great,
or have since seen.
like, office friend
It was
type
approximately
actor in the
5
80s.
foot tall. I call it kind of a pillowy
Like he
liquid
works in the same office
kind of
as Sigourney
being.
Weaver
There's
type
no
of a
form
role.
to it. The only thing that even remotely resembles a human was what I believed to be two little black, like Raggedy Ann doll eyes that it had in the area that looked like its head. Other than that, unlike anything that I've ever seen.
Keith Thompson is the author of Angels and Aliens, a book that tries to delineate between myth, imagination, and reality in the abduction phenomenon.
Product placement.
Although he remains grounded in the laws of physics, Thompson still keeps an open mind.
I believe they've had experiences of a reality that is somehow both part of our reality, but also larger than our reality.
Every time I've tried to shoot a Tony Yeoman video, this has been almost the identical background that I've tried to shoot it at a picnic table with like a park background.
It's almost as if my dog
the Sightings
is sitting
guys,
on the
they
living
get
room
it on
floor.
these
I'm
interviews.
watching the evening news. I can follow what's going on in the evening news differently from my dog. When my dog hears the sounds, he hears the newsman, the reporter's
I understand
voice,
things
but doesn't track
on
it the
the
same
news
way
better
I do.
than my
doesn't
dog.
track the content. Likewise, I think in relationship to the UFO phenomenon, we're tuned into it. But it is so dimensional, it is so complex, and so much more comprehensive than our capacity to perceive it, that we can only pick out those parts of the signal that fit for us. And we do our best to explain them to ourselves. But we end up having to try to fit it into our categories, and I think the problem with that is that it just doesn't fit. It's a larger reality.
I believe I've been touched by something that's not from this reality that we're used to.
You're not just seeing something in the sky and saying, that was weird. This is something that affects you.
At least he's not listening
all
to
your
him
life.
like the son of Sam.
I know it as real as
My
I'm
Idiot
sitting here
Dog.
talking
That'd
to
be a
you
good
people,
movie too.
That what has happened to me has indeed happened.
Joining me now is psychologist Dr. Robert Baker. He is professor emeritus from the University of Kentucky.
No wonder they
Dr.
put him
Baker
in the
is a researcher
shadows.
who believes that the alien abduction phenomenon is out of control. Dr. Baker, if supposed abductees
He
feel
looks so
that they're being
mad.
helped through therapy and hypnosis,
He
well,
has
what's the harm in
Raggedy
that?
Ann doll
There's
eyes.
no
Look at
harm
him.
in,
This is Big Ed. This
hypnosis
is younger
itself. It can
Big
be
Ed
used
from
both
90
for
Day
good and for
Fiancé.
evil. The problem is that the hypnotist should not mislead both himself and his
Touched by an
client
angel.
into believing certain things happened that never happened.
When VP
or
met
believe that
Aladdin.
things didn't happen that did happen.
What advice would you have, Dr. Baker, for someone who believes that they may have been the victim of an alien abduction? What should they do?
You should go to see a therapist who can help you deal with the anxiety and
All I can see is
the
Big
other
Ed.
aspects of your living that have been disturbed by this experience that you think you've had.
Dr. Robert Baker, thank you for joining us. And we'll be back with more sightings in just a moment.
Coming up, is time travel an amazing new possibility?
It was very exhilarating.
There was a series of Japanese, I think they were, but they might not have been Japanese, they might have been Chinese.
Throughout history,
In fact, I think they were Chinese. Series of films from like Hong Kong that were like touched by an angel, but it was raped by an angel, and there's like a whole series of them.
there have been visionaries.
Category 3.
In the 15th century, Leonardo da Vinci was designing helicopters. Is this
Where the
ability to
angel
see
touched
into the
you.
future a special gift or something that lies dormant within all of us? Hypnotherapist Dr. Chet Snow believes that he may hold the key to unlocking the
Ooh,
visionary
future life
power
progression.
we all have.
The first step, paradoxically, is to forget. Forget your preconceived notions about past, present, and future. Allow your mind to ask the same questions great philosophers have asked since the beginning of history. What is time? And can I travel through it?
Oh boy.
It was very exhilarating, the
Wig.
initial impact of jumping into the future.
I was a little afraid the first time
Patricia
when I
Abad.
experienced my death in this life. That was kind of scary.
I like the world like it is now. I'm not sure about the vision I saw of the future.
I want to start out by having us take a few deep breaths. So just
See,
close
this
your
is the
eyes.
kind of content we need to be
Their
covering.
visions are the result of
We
a
need to be
process called
recreating these
future life
experiments.
progression. In Santa Fe, New Mexico, Dr. Chet Snow believes
Raped by a
relaxation
lull
techniques
angel?
and hypnosis allow his clients to transcend time and experience a possible future.
It is essentially what we have found is that when you're in the dreaming mind, you can bypass
Which one?
this concept of past to present to future, and you're sort of in an eternal now. And so the mind can then look at the future and yet to the person who's experiencing it, it's what they're
That guy looks
experiencing
like
right at
Emil
that moment, and
Muzz
so it's
from
like
the
simultaneous to
Dragnet
them.
movie.
Until recently, interdimensional time travel was considered an exclusive club whose membership was limited to Nostradamus, Edward Casey, and a handful of psychics
Remember,
and futurists.
in Dragnet,
Certainly
that
looking
one woman was
future
always
or
referred
hunting
to
for
as the
future is a
Virgin
very
Connie
ancient
Swale.
tradition. And people have wanted to know about the future as long probably as there have been human beings on the planet. What has changed is that now, instead of relying on a few psychics who have this extraordinary ability to look into the future, ordinary people can actually do a workshop and look into their own future. Now people can see a very personalized
People have always been
vision.
interested in
We
the
were
future.
supposed to die and experience our life in the future, but for some reason it triggered me to experience my death in this life. So I wasn't really ready for that, but it happened. When I looked in the mirror, I scared myself, and I was really, really skinny, and I looked at my legs and they looked like polio legs, and I think I was like dying of some disease where you just get emaciated.
Death is an
I looked down
inevitable
and I had
stage in any
polio
future life
legs. What a
progression,
statement
but it
from
doesn't
this woman.
necessarily end there. Both Michael Husband and Geoff Selges experienced a personal future
Well,
that
especially
took them
this
to the
segment
sea.
would be. This is a pretty nuts
So the year was
segment.
2150. I was working
Emil
in
Muzz.
a underwater station.
Pat Tanaka.
There
Oh
were
my God,
tanks
wow.
filled with
What
fish.
a statement.
And there were long
That's
trays
Hawaiian.
of salt water that also had sea life in them. And I was a monitor of some kind. I had machinery, I had notes, and my job was to monitor the sea life.
I was piloting a vehicle
No, it
which
wasn't.
went in and out of the water, up and down.
That was a
When I went
dolphin.
under the water was very clear and blue. There were perhaps domes or something down at the ocean floor. I did look at a calendar and it was 2150. That was the year.
Brainwave patterns recorded during future life progressions mimic those recorded in the dream state. But Geoff and Michael believe they have
What a
shared
weird
a vision
thing to
of the
experience
future
with
that
other
cannot
people.
be a dream.
Was there like a
We were
Groupon? What's
both very
going on?
stunned to find that we both had very, very similar visions. We had seen
Everybody
the same
here was
landscape.
super important in the
I
past
suspect
and will
that I was
remain
patrolling the same
super
ocean
important in
where
the future. It's just right
his,
now
station was located.
you're not
We
important to
described
the,
the
is what
same
the
living
story of
quarters.
these
So there were
people's
a lot of
lives.
things, similarities that were surprising to us.
Because time travel is an interior process, it can't be measured or charted. But while many in mainstream science dismiss future life progression as a mental exercise, they do believe in the possibility of time travel.
In the realm of physics, time travel is possible.
Come on,
in principle.
Roger.
If we look at particles and objects that are the size of atoms, they can be sped up enough so that we can see real time changes.
In the
For
past, I was Louis
ordinary-sized
the
objects,
14th,
people,
and in the
rocket ships,
future, I'm a
airplanes,
like
ordinary
techno
clocks, the
warlord. But
speeds
right
that are
now, I'm just
practical with
I'm a
current
stoner
technology are
rotter.
simply too
I'm in the rest. I'm in the
to
rest
actually
period.
get any significant change in time.
But after 25 years teaching physics, Dr. Jones feels there's much we don't understand yet.
It's okay though; it
Personally,
doesn't
I
matter
think
because the
that,
Earth is about to be
time travel
recycled.
through hypnotic projection or
This is
some
the last
other,
call.
other kind of mental gymnastics is a possibility, because I do believe that our current notions about time and space, as defined and described in science, are not the whole
We
story.
need,
I don't believe that.
and really there
we
should
really
be some
understand
inflation
everything there is to know
or
about existence and
interest
time and
on
space
that
and matter.
money as
At
well.
least I'm open to these other possibilities. And I
But
do
for
think they're
marketing
possible.
purposes,
I personally am
to
optimistic
get the word
about
out,
the
the
future.
306
I think that once humanity
good.
gets awakened, then we
But the
will make
actual
positive
amount
and
should
correct
reflect
choices, and the future will turn
the
out to
delay
be
in
much brighter
payment.
than some of the people have seen in these future dreams.
Dr. Snow believes these visions come when the conscious mind releases its preconceptions about past, present, and future, and steps into the time-space continuum, a concept first suggested by a visionary named Albert Einstein.
wow, the space-time continuum. Can you
Hypnosis
imagine?
has been used to great advantage by a number of professional therapists. But it's wise to remember that it's also been used by professional showmen at carnivals. Before investing time and
You
money
were
in
a dork,
hypnotherapy,
now you're a
do
rotter.
your
I
own
think that's an
research.
improvement.
Investigate the claims
I'd
made
rather
by
be
the
a rotter
therapists.
than a dork, I
Talk
think.
to former patients, and then make an informed decision.
Next is an alien intelligence using music to communicate through these crop circles.
Oh boy.
All of the white keys on the piano are present in the crop circles.
Astronomer Gerald Hawkins drew worldwide attention when he proved mathematically that Stonehenge
Wow,
is a
$547.89.
giant
That's no
celestial
small
calendar.
sum of money.
Now, Dr. Hawkins has turned his
That's
attention to crop
isn't that like a, you
He
could buy a
believes that some
PlayStation
crop
5
circles
with that.
display geometric principles so advanced they could only have been created by the greatest mathematical minds on this planet.
Geometry turns shapes into
What a
numbers.
trippy episode this
Here's
is.
an easy one. Two circles, one inside another. The big circle is twice as big as the little circle. In geometry, that's called a ratio of 2 to 1. The big circle is
feel like
two
I'm watching
times
the
the
Electric
size
Company.
of the little circle. Advanced mathematicians, like Professor Hawkins, can figure out ratios for almost every
I like people
geometric
that shoot with a
Where we
painting
see
behind
just
them.
3 circles, he sees a ratio of 16 to 3. Where we see 3 enigmatic crop circles, Hawkins sees mathematical genius.
Hawkins
Circle makers
sees a
have set up a
musical
theorem where we can
masterpiece.
prove by Euclidean geometry that
Fun-loving farmer.
the large circle is exactly 16 over 3 times the area of the middle circle, 16/3. A very strange number, but it's exactly the note of F in the 3rd octave.
How can a fraction be a musical note? Different notes travel to your ear at different frequencies.
Wow, this is
C
so much information. I
weightier
feel like
than
I
G.
know now how
The
music
difference
is
between
made,
C
and I don't
G,
like it as
the
much.
difference between geometric shapes, can be written down as a ratio. Here are the ratios
Yeah, but I don't
for
really
one
care about
musical
being
scale.
successful.
Here are the ratios of 8 crop circles Hawkins has studied.
I care about
Strange
rotting.
numbers, but they're exactly the same.
The maker of the circles is, we have to admit, clever, not only in making them, but in what is encoded in them. One possibility is that they're not humans.
Is someone or something with a superior intellect sending us messages through these complex circles? Are these combinations of geometric patterns really combinations of notes that play out an extraterrestrial message?
This is some
At
deep
the University
music
of California,
theory, yeah.
San Diego, Professor of Music F. Richard Moore is looking for a musical message
thought that was the
might
male
be
person
encoded in the crop circles.
from the
What
post
I did
office.
was to use a computer to synthesize the sounds so we actually hear them in the precise relationships that they
Is
are
this the
expressed
same
in these
actor that was the
mathematical
dad
theorems.
on Alf?
The first set of results is just a sequence of 14
Oh, yeah,
different
all the time,
sounds
Taco.
that correspond to the 14 different crop circle theorems that I've been provided with.
I think at some point we're going to watch them on stream once we're done with
After playing the circles one at a
this
time,
and
Professor Moore combined
whatever
them.
that other one, UFO
This
files.
is the crop circle chord, and it's all 14 of these messages combined into a single
Ben Thorpe
chord that
coded.
lasts for several
Leg
seconds.
crossing.
Perhaps in trying to communicate things between different species or different types of intelligent beings, we have to rely on things that are very fundamental, having to do with basic relationships, because we have no conventional way of discussing things when you don't know, even the size of
Benny
someone,
Hill,
or what
that'd be great.
temperatures they like to live at, and this sort of thing.
Could the math of the
I think we've talked about this before, but it makes sense to bring it up again because it's kind of relevant. Do you guys remember when they like, I don't know, they like 3D scanned the like vocal cords of a mummy to like replicate how it would sound if he talked, and they got like a really like brief snippet, and it was just this horrific pained yell was what they got. It was like the worst sound ever.
crop circles and their musical properties simply be the product of coincidence and an overactive imagination.
Fields don't naturally lie down in circles. Lots of crop fields have lots of tramplings in them. Horses and cows walk around in grains of wheat and barley all the time. They don't leave circles. Circles are special, and that's why we recognize them. They are too special to suspect that they're there for no reason at all.
Professor
special.
Moore's passion for music and his skill with computers challenges him to search for meaning in the cropped messages that lie a continent away. He believes, though, that we've got a long way to go.
The stage of development that we're at corresponds to a tribe of Neanderthals discovering suddenly a grand piano sitting in the middle of a field. And our problem is to discover its function and to learn to use it. And it'll be a while, I think, before we figure it out.
The idea of using music as a form of intergalactic communication is not unique to Dr. Hawkins. When NASA launched the Voyager space probe in 1977, among its cargo was a 12-inch copper disc and a playing needle in case the Voyager was intercepted by intelligent life. The record carried greetings in 55 different languages, a message from then-President Jimmy Carter, and 90 minutes of music.
If you've had a paranormal experience, call the Sightings hotline at 1-900-933-SIGHT. That's 1-900-933-7444. Each call 65 cents a minute. Average call lasts 3 minutes. Sightings is also online. Our email address is sightings@aol.com. On the next edition of Sightings, survivors thought it was the end of the world, an explosion bigger than 2,000 A-bombs, and now Russian scientists believe a UFO crashed in Siberia. Then, a grisly supernatural force may have caused these bizarre deaths. And you can't see it, you can't touch it, but a mysterious ghostly energy has been captured on tape in an exclusive Sightings investigation.
That's next time. Until then, remember, no mystery is closed to an open mind. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
You like this getting high and doing X series? Yeah, me too. Big time. It's just my wake and bake
The Sentinel
session. All right, here we go. We got time for one more.
On this edition of Sightings, in 1908, witness...
Oh, man. Here we go. Here we go. I don't know what Tunguska is, but the second topic is spontaneous human combustion. That's what I'm talking about.
To said it looked like the end of the world. Now, Russian scientists
How you doing,
believe an
snakes on a
extraterrestrial
plane?
craft exploded over the Siberian countryside. Then, did a grisly supernatural force cause these bizarre deaths?
Within an inch or two of the body, there is virtually no fire damage at all.
You can't see it, you can't touch it, but a mysterious ghostly energy has been captured on tape in an exclusive Sightings investigation.
We would probably have to classify this location as a classic haunt.
And best-selling authors offer a wondrous vision of the afterlife.
The bottom line of what people can learn is to
it's an
fear
interesting
death.
case. Spontaneous human combustion.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm
Jedi Rich is kind of Fonz coded. He does a lot of like, hey.
Tim White. One summer day in 1908, in a remote region of Siberia called Tunguska, 800 square miles of virgin forest were flattened in an instant. The explosion had the power of 2,000 nuclear bombs and sent pressure waves around the planet twice. Few people outside Russia have been allowed to investigate Tunguska, but now our Sightings team has been granted unprecedented access. What they've found is evidence of an otherworldly power that could strike again. Imagine a 10-megaton bomb with 2,000 times the power that destroyed Hiroshima. Imagine feeling the shock waves from that explosion halfway across the globe, and then the next day feeling them again. Imagine devastation so widespread it would have consumed all of New York City in less than a minute. Now, know
Wow,
that
in
it
less
all
than a
happened
minute?
in 1908.
That stresses me
Tsar
out
Nicholas
since Jedi
II
Joy's going
ruled
to New York.
Imperial Russia. World War I was still to be fought, and nuclear weapons weren't even a dream. And
Yet the explosion that decimated the remote Tunguska region of Siberia resembled a nuclear blast in a number of uncanny ways. Some scientists insist the nightmare of destruction was the result of a comet that exploded above Earth. But other experts believe that an extraterrestrial craft from an advanced civilization is somehow responsible. For 86 years, the debate has continued, but there is still no consensus. Comet theorists need a crater. Ufologists need just one shred of physical evidence. But whether the Tunguska blast was a comet, meteor, or an alien craft,
I'm going to fall into
an
abyssal depression
again somewhere else.
without
How do we
Jedi
prepare
Joy, my
for a
spiritual
cataclysmic event
advisor.
like this when we don't understand its origins? Professor Nikolai Vasiliev is a renowned Russian scientist who has made more than 30 trips to the epicenter.
Oh, look at this.
This isn't Russia's problem. Tunguska affects the whole world and all of the mankind. It doesn't pose a great danger only to Russia, but rather for mankind as a whole. This isn't a fictional tale, nor flight of fancy. I base my opinions on facts obtained from my work on Tunguska problems. I don't want to scare our viewing audience. The situation is to a great extent ambiguous and highly serious.
Recently, the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet made a crater on Jupiter the size of Earth. 50,000 years ago, a meteorite did this in Arizona. In Tunguska, whatever
Failed
happened in
hole.
1908 only did this. No crater has ever been found. Moscow was the first stop for our
Aren't those
sightings
buildings
investigative
just
team.
ridiculous looking
There,
to
we
you?
met the scientists who support the party line. Although they cannot
It always
explain
cracks
why
me
there
up.
is no crater at the blast site,
Like
they
it
still
looks like a
insist it was
circus.
a comet that hit Tunguska.
I am a staunch supporter of the comet
Eugene
hypothesis,
Levy.
and I think that there is no serious proof to refute it. It does have several problems.
As
Yeah,
a
he would have,
geochemist,
Cody Turbo.
Professor Kalishnikov is trying to solve these problems using
Kalishnikov is the
existing
name of the
theories.
scientist?
He
Okay.
admits he isn't getting any closer to a definitive answer. Instead, there are just
Oh,
more
that's cool
unanswered
looking.
questions.
There was mutation. We are researching this. It is possible that all objects in the epicenter were exposed to a small dose of X-ray
Take a
radiation.
look at these tree trunks.
X-ray
comrade.
radiation is one of the known byproducts of a nuclear explosion. Did Russia have atomic bomb technology at the turn of the century? Highly unlikely. Who then had the technology to create this kind of devastation? From Moscow, we flew 1,900 miles into the heart of the mystery, into Tunguska itself. A journey no American television crew has ever attempted.
Has ever cared
After a
to make.
6-kilometer hike, our
Oh,
team
look at
reached
this
what is
equipment,
believed
guys.
to
Look at
be
that
ground
camera.
zero.
This rock was placed here by one of
Vitaly
the early Tunguska
Voronov.
expeditions in 1928.
Our guide in Tunguska was Vitaly Voronov, a Siberian
what a
native
nice place.
whose ties to the areas date back 3 centuries. He has collected an oral history of the Tunguska explosion.
You kind of miss Mexican
Voronov
weed.
is a vital link to those who actually witnessed the cataclysm.
There's got to be
that
some.
must have
There has
seemed
to be
the
like
end
a
of the
something
world.
similar to.
One eyewitness told me
Experience
he
out
was
there.
riding a stallion when he heard what sounded like cannon shots. When he looked up, he saw a body glowing like
Ketamine
the sun.
therapy, audio-visual
It began
experience. I'll check it
climbing
out.
towards the
Let me
horizon for maybe
screenshot it so I don't
15
forget.
or 20 seconds. There were many small explosions on the object. It ended with one heavy explosion. The force of the explosion was so strong, the man and the horse were knocked to the ground 15 miles away.
Sightings also heard the retelling of
I
a
think it looks
first-hand
silly.
account of the
I'm not saying it
explosion.
doesn't, that it's
A
not
local
cool. I'm just saying like
spiritual
it
leader,
looks silly.
a
to me.
shaman said,
Looks like a
as a young
circus.
boy, he was running away from the
Real
blast.
carnival
He saw
vibes.
something fly out
Whoa,
of the
look at these
epicenter.
graphics.
A cylinder with sparks shooting out of it. The cylinder flew over the shaman's head and into outer space.
A shaman?
Could this cylinder have caused the blast? Yuri Lovbin believes he has found evidence to support the theory that Tunguska was the site of an alien encounter gone awry.
That's Rich's
He has unearthed
refrigerator behind
masses
him.
of anomalous matter.
Gary Oldman's gonna play this guy.
In the beginning, we
Take a
found
look at all of these
small
rocks I
fragments
have.
buried deep in
Many
the
rocks.
earth. But there was nothing on the
That's
surface.
what I would
no
say if I
fragments at
walked
all.
in there. I'd be like, oh, many
All
rocks.
trees collapsed, and over
Many
many
rocks.
years, everything went underground.
Chemical analysis reveals that these rock-like fragments have a silicon
Rock-like
coating,
fragments.
the same kind of material used as heat shielding on our space shuttles. Lovbin believes these large masses are actually exploded fragments from the exterior of a UFO.
It is possible that this could be a ship from another planet, an intergalactical ship which was riveted with silicon, and we found its thick-walled casing.
This guy's
used to
great,
protect the
man. What a
craft from the high
lunatic.
temperatures of the stars.
Lovebean's most intriguing piece of
Let
evidence,
me show you
however,
my special
was not found
refrigerator
at the crash
rocks.
site. It was discovered months later, embedded in one of the
Don't
fragments.
tell Boris
I took
Yeltsin.
pincers and extracted this object. Here it
That
is.
one's only
It was
$4.
surrounded by crystal light, transparent and non-transparent particles.
Has Lovebean found the first physical evidence of an extraterrestrial spacecraft? He has
He's
compared
smoking a
his
roach.
sample
Whoa,
with
look how
metals
long
commonly
those
found on
eyepieces
Earth
are.
and in
Wow.
meteorites. So far, there is no match. The fragment continues to undergo rigorous metallurgical testing. When analysis is complete, Sightings will report the findings to you. There are so many theories because
They
the
are good
Tunguska
about
event
follow-ups,
has
you
no
have to say
precedent.
that.
No known natural phenomenon can adequately explain this event, so even mainstream scientists admit they're looking in a new direction.
Oh, here's this
Can
guy
we
again.
hope to obtain an explanation of Tunguska using classical conceptions? 10
Why
years
don't they
ago,
show us
I
what's
would
in
have
those glass
definitely answered
cases?
yes. Now, I'm doubtful that it can be explained without resorting to non-classical conceptions.
Oh, wow. Kind of a nice art piece.
Next, should these people profit from the wondrous visions they say they've had on the other side?
People making money off the near-death experience are wrong.
Yeah, hell yeah.
In 1961, a controversial little book by Jessica Mitford called The American Way of Death sent shockwaves across America. It was the first popular book about death. Today, nearly 35 years later, books about death are one of the fastest growing categories in publishing.
My name is Daniel Brinkley. I have a book on the New York Times bestseller list called Saved by the Light.
Quit yelling at people.
And for people who don't know about it, it's about me going through two
Hey,
near-death
Randy, God, what this
experiences.
guy, man.
Author Daniel Brinkley believes he's been to heaven and back, and he's not alone. According to a recent Gallup poll, 30% of us claim to have had or know someone who has had a near-death experience. More than 100 books have been written about NDE, and some of them are making it onto the bestseller list.
I believe that it's important to get the message out about the near-death
Kimberly
experience.
Clark
'Cause
Sharp.
There's just too many people afraid
She's pretty
of
hot
death.
by Sightings
The near-death
standards.
experience teaches us to not fear death.
They don't have very much goon material
Not
on
afraid to die, we're
Sightings.
not afraid to live.
The classic pattern of a near-death experience is well documented. First, an out-of-body experience leads you through a tunnel towards a bright light. Once there, you meet your God.
I wasn't breathing. I had no pulse or known cardiac activity for between 20 minutes and an hour and a half.
You're helpless. You feel helpless. For the first time in your life, you're totally helpless.
Then I felt a tremendous sinking sensation, and then I came out of my chest and rose up to the ceiling, and I could look down and see my body lying there on the bed.
And rapidly, I'm pulled out of my body and right into a dark, totally dark tunnel with a sensation of speed, rapid
Man, wouldn't that be
speed.
badass?
I
Holy
saw
shit.
a pinpoint of light in this blackness, and I was attracted to it.
Yeah,
so
he
I
told me to
turned
come
and I
back
began
and
to travel very rapidly
write a book.
towards that bright light.
I was part of the light, and the light was part of me. It was not painful. It was absolutely wonderful.
And I was able to ask thousands of questions, millions of questions, and have every one of my questions answered.
Then to my right came a being of light. And this being was there to witness or be with me. I had a panoramic review of my life. I felt every emotion, everything I'd ever done, every word I'd ever said, and every experience I'd ever had with anyone that I'd ever come in contact with.
After I went through my life review, I was told that I had not completed my time on Earth, that it was really necessary for me to return and to do that.
Okay.
When I re-entered my body, it was...
So she's saying she literally met with a supernatural bureaucrat who informed her that she hadn't checked enough things off the list. This lines up again with what Marshall Applewhite says, which is that you're going to keep getting sent back until it's time. And you know who else has brought this point up without just completely randomly is Jedi Joy. She was saying, I think last night, that she didn't think that you could, like, she's not afraid of dying because, like, you're not going to die until it's, like, your time to die. Like, it's no matter what happens, like you have a predetermined expiration date.
Like I'd been in a car crash. I crashed back in. It was a jolt that I felt right down to the fiber of my spine.
13 million Americans have had some type of near-death experience. I'm just one of them.
Brakely's cashing in on his near-death experience. But no one approaches the success enjoyed by author Betty Eadie, whose book, Embraced by the Light, has been the nation's #1 bestseller for more than a year.
There is absolutely no way to fully describe the beauty that is there. They said a good analogy would be that heaven is like the print.
Oh, look at this.
And earth would be.
Oh, beautiful.
Much like the negative. All of the flowers and the trees, with their movement, with their mere existence, was glorifying God and praising
These places
Him.
that we're seeing,
The
guys, they don't
unprecedented
exist
success
anymore.
of Embraced by the Light speaks to our nation's
The
hunger
world
for
of
reassurance
sightings
about
doesn't
life's
exist
ultimate
anymore.
mystery. But Betty Eadie is drawing fire from other experiencers who believe she should not profit from her NDE.
Look, I've experienced near death, and I know the values that you're given in that experience.
I was pulled rapidly from my body, and I was looking down, and it was like I was looking down on my own body, man. And all I could see was my life flashing before my eyes, but then there was another vision coming from the side, and it was just this flash of numbers. 30617. And it told me I had to come back to this planet until I could figure out what that meant.
People making money off the near-death experience like Betty Eadie and others are wrong. They're not authentic, and they're hurting the near-death experience movement.
I can't speak
Sentence
for
to
all
watch
the
Boyd
authors
forever.
making a mint right now, but I can speak
Yeah,
for
Rich's
some of
take
them
is, oh, I
because
love
I've
it. And it's at a
known them
gas station.
for such a long time that
Perfect.
I know that
Sentenced
they
or
wrote books
blessed to watch
truly
Boyd
try to help
forever.
people.
Doctors and medical researchers believe the near-death experience can be explained scientifically. To them, NDE is simply a hallucination caused by a brain cut off from oxygen.
There's nothing magical about a near-death experience. The basic themes of the near-death experience are remarkably similar across cultures. The reason being that the 5 billion brains that make up this planet
There's a movement
are
for it,
remarkably
but they're
similar in their
encouraging
structure.
people
To prove his point,
to
Dr.
try to have
Persinger
one.
believes he can duplicate a near-death experience in the laboratory using a perfectly healthy subject.
What we attempt to do is to apply safe levels of complex magnetic fields through the brain. The frequencies we use and where we place the field induce the experiences that are associated with that part of the brain. If you stimulate the brain with a different kind of pattern, you make a person feel
yeah, that's a
pleasurable, leaving their body.
Luckily, that's
In
their
fact, the most
problem.
common experiences in the chamber are feeling detached, feeling floating, feeling as if there's a sense of a presence.
I believe, along with skeptics, that our brain is related to this experience, but
Do you think there'll even be
there are
anything at that
things
point?
that happen in a near-death experience that have yet to be explained by the brain.
Even though you might get a doctor to explain to me my
The
body,
near-death movement.
they cannot explain to me. my
Oh,
spirit.
I see what you're
They're
saying. He's like you're pointing out that like he's a purist about it. He doesn't think you should be like, that it should be commercialized. It's hurting the it's keeping people from believing the truth because they're like, oh, I'm going to dismiss it because this is just a grift. It's just a dono
explanations,
roll.
for what happens to a near-death experiencer is simply weak.
The fact that we now understand the part of the brain that mediates
Rich
the
said that he'd be in
experience does
heaven
not
and you would
demean
be
the
his human
experience
toilet paper.
and does
Wow.
not make it less useful or less important from the point of view of our species. or the
EFD is going to
individual.
have to haunt that
Whether
bus
near-death
stop if he doesn't
experience is
cash
physical
up.
or metaphysical may be beside the point. People who
Rich
claim
acted
to
it
have
out.
seen
Oh my
what's
God.
behind death's door are finding an audience. They tell us there is light at the end of a dark journey. We must
Listen,
all
guys,
take
one
day.
thing I wish someone had told me when I was
People
in
are
my
buying these
20s,
books because
the
these
light
are the
at the end of the
substitutes,
tunnel,
powerful
it don't
substitutes
exist.
for traditional religious
It's
beliefs
foolishness.
that no longer work.
Death is the last great mystery. And as we start to look at the near-death experience, we have at least a basis by which to view the way we leave this earth. For one thing that most of us come back with is we're not afraid to die. And more importantly, we're not afraid to live.
The author of Embracing the Light, Betty Eadie, has not been forthcoming about the medical details of her near-death experience. Her secrecy frustrates researchers who are looking for cases of near-death experience that can be scientifically substantiated.
There aren't
A
any.
bizarre phenomenon defies explanation, yet people continue to
What's
die.
he talking
Skin,
about?
muscle and bone had been turned into a fine white ash.
Oh my God, this is
For more than
I'm excited
300
for it, but it's
years,
also
there have
really
been
gross.
strange reports of people who were found dead, reduced to ash, while everything around them remains unburned. It's called spontaneous human combustion, but that popular term is kind of a misnomer.
Jedi or whatever the Force, whatever the actual religion. I guess the Jedi are the people, and then the Force is the religion. But like it at the end of the day, being a Jedi really isn't any different than being a Christian or a Catholic or a Muslim or whatever. Like, it's just a way of like framing your personal values as being like the, you know, set up to kind of help you cope.
In this phenomenon, people
With
don't
your
suddenly
humanity.
burst into flame.
Which is the idea any different than what Marshall Applewhite's saying of like shedding your humanity? Is that really that far off from like what some religions like expect you to do?
Instead, they appear to have been slowly devoured.
Or the process
by
of becoming an
intense heat
angel or whatever,
from the
or
inside
becoming
out.
I don't know, when you can blow
Some
up the Death Star.
researchers and fire
Whatever the
officials believe
Jedi
that these are
equivalent
the
is.
victims of the strange, misunderstood phenomenon known as spontaneous human combustion, or SHC.
Yeah, this terrified me
no one knows how
when I
or
was a
even
kid.
if SHC occurs, but mysterious deaths by fire like these have been reported
Oh
throughout
my
history.
gosh.
Authors Jenny Randles and Peter Huff
There was a single picture, I don't know which book it is, but there was a book on 35mm photography that was at the little local library when I was a kid, and it had a picture in it of like a supposed human combustion thing in it, because it had like pictures of all kinds in it, but like that's the one that like stuck out. That, and there was like a topless pregnant woman.
have documented over 70 possible cases of SHC in the 20th century alone.
We're talking about a situation where the fire is so localized that within an inch or two of the
Oh
body,
no,
which
cigarette
is
making
turned to
content
ash,
gone wrong.
apart from a few extremities perhaps, there is virtually no fire damage at all. So this is a self-contained fire. And
Oh,
the implication from that, although of course it's not proven, is that the fire begins internally and spreads outward from the body, and therefore never goes very far beyond the extremities of the body, consequently does affect the room itself.
These pictures, I hate these pictures.
There is no way the human body, which is largely water,
Joe Nickel and
can
his partner,
spontaneously
Danny
combust.
Dime.
There is no mechanism by which it can happen.
But there are fire experts who disagree. They maintain that the same kind of spontaneous combustion that occurs in nature can also occur in
I'm
humans.
trying not to get
if
stressed
conditions
to
are
drive
right.
my blood pressure up, which could
If you take
trigger
the human being
a
as just a bulk substance made up of a
William
whole range
Cooney.
of materials, from water to highly combustible chemicals. Eat it sufficiently, give it sufficient oxygen.
That one lady's going the wrong way.
And use the fuel that's within the body, then it will burst into flame, the same as any other bulk material.
In this working-class district of Chorley in Lancashire, England, Peter Huff has been investigating a grisly case of suspected SHC.
The incident happened on the night of the 4th of March 1980 in this house here. An elderly lady lived in the house at the time alone, and it was the previous evening that neighbours last saw her alive. Later that night at around 9:30, they noticed black smoke coming from the chimney but thought no more of it. And the following morning,
looked like a
when two
king on
men
top of
called
that
at
building.
the house, they thought no more of it.
How neat. Look at the
And
little guy. He
following
looks like
morning,
a...
black smoke coming from the chimney.
He looks like a... Look at him. He has like a crown on. It looks like an Easter Island head wearing a crown. Fantastic.
But thought no more of it. And the following morning, when two men called at the house, they got no reply. Neighbours forced their way into the house, and what they discovered was grisly, to say the least. From the waist
Yeah, it is
upwards,
Ringo Starr
everything,
accent.
including skin, muscle, and bone,
I hope
had
Joy
been
doesn't
turned
experience
into fine
spontaneous
white
combustion.
ash.
SHC investigators point out that turning a body to ash is beyond the scientific possibility of even the
I need
most
her spiritual
sophisticated
guidance.
crematorium.
In my time working here as a cremationist, I've never seen
Wow.
a body that has been cremated to nothing. There has always been skeletal remains left over.
Even at 1100
Chimney
degrees
King.
Fahrenheit, human bones cannot be reduced to ash. They have to be pulverized with heavy grinding stones before they can be
I don't know what they call it, but I think there's probably a word for it. But it's where like you see faces in everything. Like I always see like faces in everything. Like every house to me looks like it has like a big face.
placed inside an urn.
So if
Many
a
of them
body
look
was
like
reduced
small
to ash
owls
in a
to me.
fire, it would be a mystery to me in how that occurred.
Comparisons to crematorium are false comparisons. It's like comparing a piece
Mary
of wood
Reeser?
that
I
you've
don't know
set
who
on
that
fire
is.
with a match to a piece of wood that you put in the oven and baked. You may have to bake it at a very high temperature to have any effect on that wood. But
Comparing
baking
the
and
human body
actual
to a
fire
piece of
burning are
wood.
very
What
different
a
phenomena, and so
cruel
there's
person.
no comparison.
No.
Another baffling element common to most cases is the fact that highly flammable objects like furnishings, pillows, and carpets near the body don't burn.
This is really remarkable. One would think that a fire, a normal fire of the order, which would be necessary to burn a human body at all, would have also have set the room ablaze.
Anyone who's had any experience, I think, with a simple thing like a campfire knows that you can get quite close and put things quite close to a fire laterally, but place them over the fire and they burn readily. So again, these are not mysteries. These, while unusual that the body burns that way without the house burning down, while these may be relatively unusual deaths, they're not unexplainable.
To date, no coroner has ever written spontaneous human combustion on a death certificate. They prefer cause unknown or simply by fire. Despite skepticism from the medical establishment, Jenny Randles and Peter Huff continue to document mysterious
Oh my
fire-related
God, a
deaths
whole book about
that they
it.
believe may be the result of spontaneous
That's a great.
human
These are some
combustion.
nice shots though, for real.
Does that warrant a real scientific investigation? I think it does. If we had 100 deaths of a particular
You saw Princess's
unknown
face in a
disease,
rice
I'm
cake.
sure the medical profession would like to find out why.
Next is an alien intelligence trying to communicate through these
I tell you
newly
what,
discovered crop
we're going to know
circles.
everything about crop circles by the end of this.
definite UFO connection.
And later, a supernatural phenomenon is captured on tape during an exclusive sightings investigation.
Crop circles are generally associated with the fields and grasslands of Great Britain. The formations discovered outside the British Isles have almost all been ruled out as hoaxes. But in the past year, an intriguing new series of crop circles is being studied along the U.S.-Canadian border.
Well, the first day I saw it, my blood pressure went up.
It's very difficult to describe. The air is full of electricity.
There was something out there that was watching me that I didn't know about.
They appear at first light. An American icon.
I like
amber waves
the
of
idea of
grain
Princess's
crushed by an
content. It's like he's
unseen
kind of like a
force.
confused
Is it
old
a
man
hoax?
that's put into this
Sometimes.
streaming world.
But
So
here,
like, but
there
I
are
don't
no
really feel like it
footprints, no
captures
tire
the
tracks, no obvious sign of a human hand. at
vibe
work.
that I am
believe
looking for.
it's an alien intelligence of some sort.
It was just a very eerie force around me.
Nobody has actually seen a transmission of the formation.
The scientific term is agroglyph, literally crop picture. Once a predominantly
Agroglyph.
European phenomenon, 3 new North American agroglyphs
Oh, I like that
are being
one's kinda
studied.
nice.
This one appeared near Portland, Oregon in June 1994. Then
That's
in
kinda
July,
junk.
2 separate designs
one's good.
appeared in the same wheat field in Chehalis, Washington.
Nah,
2
that
weeks
one's
later,
kinda
and 2,000
rough
miles
to me.
away,
That one's
this
good.
classic pattern was discovered
Well,
in Windsor,
down here it looked a
Ontario,
little
Canada.
rough, but-
Farmer John Parks was
Hey,
on a
pickup
routine
truck
inspection
content.
when he discovered the formation in his neighbor's wheat field.
The straw was just bent, just laid over.
Austin Idol.
Right from the ground. The stalk was still one big long piece of straw, but it was just tipped and laying right flat on the ground.
I find it hard to believe that a human being actually could really go in there and do that without disturbing any
Martin.
straw.
If you went in and pushed it with your foot, the straw would kink, would bend somewhere in the middle and be broken. And this straw wasn't broken.
The evening before the crop circle appeared, animals in a kennel less than 1 mile away were acting strangely. The guard dog was barking incessantly. The owner of the boarding kennel was puzzled by his dog's erratic behavior.
Around midnight on Sunday night, she started to make a racket, barking, whining. And we told her to
my
be
name's
quiet.
Cor
She just wouldn't
Vanden
respond. An animal sense a lot of things which we don't. You know, so What turned it on like that, I don't know.
Did the same force that affected the wheat affect local animals as well?
How has this
Actually putting
impacted
a point of
horse
class.
girls?
He didn't want to go past the circle whatsoever, and so I settled him down. His eyes were this big. The white was showing around his eyes. He was really nervous.
Is there a connection between
That's
the
what happened
nervous
to
energy
Grace.
exhibited by animals and the anomalous energy that flattened this wheat? That's a possibility being explored by the United States Center for Crop Circle Studies.
There are certain features that you can.
Oh,
you
this
develop an
lady's
eye
back
for, and
again.
with-
All right.
If you keep an open mind, and not coming in with an expectation of finding this or not finding, if you stay open,
This
you'll
lady's
see all
bright for
kinds of
sure.
things. The clues are all over.
The obvious first thing to do is try to see if there's any entry or exit marks. Possible signs of maybe something mechanical being brought in there.
Then I use my eyes and my camera.
I
And
use my
before
eyes.
I touch things or lift things or move things, or before things get another couple of seconds older, I photograph it.
Then, grain
Get a couple
samples from the
seconds
affected
older.
areas are isolated and undergo
Damn, she
microscopic
living
evaluation.
second by second.
Among those studying the samples, biophysicist Dr. W.C. Levengood and research associate John Burke. They hypothesized that the
John
crop
Burke
circles
looks
are
awful,
caused
man.
by
Did he just come off a
unusual
bender?
but natural atmospheric forces.
Man, bro was
I
tired.
came up with a
C. Everett
concept
Koop.
based
Dr.
on
W.C.
very
Levengood.
unusual natural phenomena in the atmosphere.
At his laboratory in Grass Lake, Michigan,
Hippie
Dr.
cooter, hell
Levengood is
yeah.
currently conducting a comprehensive biomolecular study of crop circles. He has discovered that wheat from certain formations have actually become magnetized.
They go through biochemical changes. They go through cellular changes. This is a control node here, showing you the normal node, very symmetrical. And what we find here
Back
is
to the horse lady.
that there are very drastic changes in the formation samples.
The fuck is this
which
guy
cannot be
talking about?
explained by ordinary trampling
I don't even-
or
I'm completely
pulsing
lost.
or any of that. Now in the formation, what we find is that this energy is so intense and so rapid, the heat is so high, that it literally blows expulsion
I need this like heavy stuff in the early episodes before I get out of pocket.
We have
I can't
an
keep
enormous
up.
amount of
I thought that
evidence
said
indicates
THC
that
investigator.
The causes of crop circle formations are quite likely ion plasma vortices. And
Ion
while this may
plasma
sound
vortices.
exotic,
What a
you
great
could
word,
picture
vortices.
a slow-speed electrified tornado, if you will.
Shit,
Because
electrified
plasma is nothing
tornado
more
would be a
than
great
electrified
movie.
air particles. It's very similar to trying
I've
to
seen
deal with
fire
the weather.
and
It's on
ice.
a bigger scale and so
But have I
complex
seen
and
electric?
chaotic. With all the resources at the command of our weather bureaus, we can't do an accurate 5-day forecast. That doesn't mean we don't understand the principles of meteorology. And the same thing is true of crop circles.
Theoretically, a spiraling ion plasma vortex could create circles in standing crop. But could a force of nature create these intricate patterns?
I believe that the circle makers are non-terrestrial entities, and probably non-physical, non-terrestrial entities who don't need UFOs. I don't believe that these are craft landings
You
or
tell 'em,
pod
girl.
marks.
The national director of MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network Canada, is investigating the suspicious origin of the Ontario crop circle.
There seems to be, in some of the better cases, a definite UFO
Michael
connection. There's
Straniak.
also evidence of paranormal activity like psychic
Look at
effects,
his tasteful
physical
earring.
effects.
Stranick's theory is bolstered by reports of UFOs sighted the night before a crop circle discovery.
They are amber lights
Oh,
that
wow.
are seen coming to the ground and extinguish when they touch the ground.
If an alien force is creating these circles,
Junk.
is it
That
random,
one's not
a
any
cosmic prank, or are they trying to tell us something?
This could be the message as well that we are in trouble here on planet
Looks
Earth.
like John
Things
Doe.
have to be changed, and we are slowly being told and shown.
I like that one.
through
This one's
crop
good.
circles and various other phenomena that we are not alone, and we may need some outside help.
Yeah, I think you are
All
alone,
scientists,
buddy.
I think, have a love of the unknown, of the
Tucker
mystery of
Carlson.
the unknown, and there's a beauty in crop formations as well that is rather compelling.
Crop circle investigations are becoming more and more scientific. Advanced technology is helping researchers gather extensive
Planet
amounts
Earth
of
is
data.
about to be recycled.
Unfortunately, all this new data still hasn't solved the mystery of how and why crop circles are being created, or by whom.
Coming up next, haunting sounds captured on tape have experts baffled at San
Last
Diego's
call. We
Whaley
only
House.
have.
I'm not scared.
We have 10 sessions left. We have 2 final warning videos from Marshall, and then we have the exit interviews, and then that's it. Then the Earth will be recycled.
It's kind of eerie to me.
There is an invisible energy that exists between magnet and metal. You can't see it or touch it, but you know that it's there. Some paranormal investigators believe that people generate a similar kind of energy, which remains in the environment even
Pheromones.
after death. They call it residue. These investigators suggest that what many people experience as a haunting may actually be their ability to feel, hear, or even see the existence of this spiritual residue. California, 1850, a stagecoach stop with good food and clean beds. Today, it's an historic landmark with a different kind of reputation. The Whaley House is considered one of the most haunted places in the West. Sandy Stokes was a reporter for the San Diego Press Enterprise when she investigated the Whaley House for a special Halloween story.
So, to do a little bit of research to make sure that it was
Sandy
really haunted, I
Strokes.
called up some
Sandy
ghost
Strokes
hunters, and one of the
journalist.
people I called was Richard Sennett.
So I sort of challenged
Richard
her.
Sennett.
I said, well,
Oh,
go
we've
ahead,
seen him
go down
before,
to
Richard
the
Sennett,
Whaley
Dick
House,
Sennett.
use a tape recorder, use brand new music quality tape, go from room to room, and when you're done, play it back and see if there isn't something that shouldn't
He's definitely
be
the
there.
kind of guy that could really
So I
tell
took
you
his
why
advice,
you needed to have a
and I
hi-fi
came down
stereo.
here, and June Redding gave me a tour.
Look at
In
this
her
90s
34
outfit
years
she's
as
got on.
director of the
Wow.
Whaley House, June Redding has experienced all kinds of haunting phenomena. She's convinced that Mrs. Whaley, a professional musician at the turn of the century, is still demonstrating her talents.
And we think perhaps her spirit isn't strong enough to return, but we have
Muslim director.
music coming from the music room, piano and violin music at times. We have the
It
sound of
does.
a music
Sandy
box.
Strokes.
A strain of a music box is not one of ours here.
Would Sandy's tape recorder pick up this anomalous music?
When I got back and played the tape, it was very interesting. I heard some sounds on it that we hadn't heard while we were walking through the house and I was interviewing her.
EVP is electronic voice phenomenon.
Do you think at some point
And
when
this
she's
first
older,
began
Grace will go through a
in the
vest
1970s
phase?
when people using tape recorders began to get extra sounds that shouldn't be there.
The tape was digitally analyzed by EVP expert Brian Black. He discovered background sounds like clacking billiard balls, while June was giving Sandy a tour.
So was that on there when it was a courtroom too? Yeah. Oh. And these are ghosts? Was there the ghosts? This is an interesting one. Do you ever feel ghosts? Oh yeah. What does it feel like?
Brian recorded billiard sounds and compared them to the sounds on the tape, but it wasn't a match.
I did some research on the history of billiards and discovered
Oh, look at
that
this guy.
What they use for billiard balls has changed considerably.
Brian consulted with Terry Moldenauer, an expert on antique billiards.
The ivory balls were used from the early 1800s on up till about the 1930s, 40s.
Terry Moldenauer.
Just recently when we went into the plastics.
When Brian repeated the test with ivory balls, the results were remarkable.
If you put the
billiards
anomaly
expert.
as a 10, something what would compare to it, I'd say an ivory comes in about 7 or an 8.
This is a man here, this
Phenolic
guy
resin,
with many
the plastic they use
compulsions.
today is too sharp and crisp.
Many.
When Brian told me that he had proved
Vest
that it
off.
was
Come on.
the actual sound of a billiard game with balls that had not been in use since the turn of the century, I was really surprised. I was shocked.
Balls
Why
that
were
haven't
billiard
been in
sounds
use
recorded in a
since the
part of
turn
house
of the
that was once a
century.
county courtroom?
Wow.
June Redding's historical research turned up a startling answer.
Frank Whaley, who was the oldest boy in the family, organized what he called the Clavel Social Club. We have all the records. As a matter of fact, I think I still have some invitations somewhere.
My ultimate conclusion is that somehow Sandy picked up a sound of someone practicing billiards.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently from 1905.
Residual haunting is sort of
Was
like
that real or was that
a shadow
on the video?
imprinted on the fabric of time. Somehow leaves an impression, or a photograph, if you will, in an environment that replays and replays over and over again.
What if she married
And this is
OPC? I mean, if
perhaps
that's
one
what
of
she
the
wants
best
to do,
examples we
I
have
mean,
of
I guess she
retrocognitive
could
sounds.
completely rock bottom.
Sounds from
But
the past, somehow
hope
impressed on
not,
the
man.
environment to be recorded a century later.
With his results of Brian's study, that I'm not skeptical, and it's kind of eerie to me.
Next, a Florida investigation uncovers a spirited phenomenon known as residue haunting.
The spirit of St. Petersburg High is definitely living here among us.
green fog.
EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, is believed to be audio residue from the past.
Would you do that on an
Researchers are
airplane to
also
somebody,
finding
ATF, or
evidence of
a
visual
restaurant?
residue in the form of ghost-like apparitions and moving objects. This kind of residue haunting seems to occur most often in a place of...
I swear I've seen a body cam of people fighting because somebody farted in a restaurant.
high
I'll have to see
energy
if I can
and
find it.
emotion, a hospital, a church, or even a school.
Haunted High. Wait, Haunted High?
School's in session at St. Petersburg High. Kids still run in the halls. The principal still rules with an iron fist. Only trouble is, St. Petersburg High has been closed
Sandy
since
Stokes
1926.
told her truth, absolutely.
The spirit of St. Petersburg High is definitely
Tam
living
Katrine.
here among us.
Okay.
Today, St. Petersburg High
Mar-a-Lago.
School has been converted into luxury condominiums. The old school rooms and hallways where teenagers of a distant past once dreamed of the future are gone. But people who live here now still see, hear, and feel echoes from the past.
A lot
Boy,
of
they
people
look like
hear
assholes.
giggling
God.
and laughing in the hallways. People hear kids running down the hallways.
I witnessed
Bobby
probably
Brown.
the most spectacular, brightest white light I have ever seen in my entire life.
We've had lights go on and off in the middle of the night for no reason, and we've had a couple nights where we heard, big band music.
Big
Have
band.
the
Wow, that
students
would
and
be
teachers
awful.
of yesteryear
Oh my God.
left an indelible metaphysical imprint on this
Do you
historic
think George
building?
is haunted by
Sightings
polka
called in
music?
Christopher Chacon and a team from the Office of Scientific Investigation and Research to interview
Oh,
the
we've seen
witnesses
these guys
and stake
before,
out the
too.
interior with an array of state-of-the-art technology. The goal was to determine if Old St. Pete High is the site of what ghost experts refer to as residue haunting.
It would be possible that the children who went to school here may have in fact left some type of impression behind.
Among their instruments, this heat-sensitive
Well, it
imaging
is level
system called
189 with a
thermovision.
sense of
It was
2
this
and an
equipment
8
that
per of
Chacon
0.
believes enabled his team to capture ghostly footprints on an earlier expedition.
Certainly the possibility is there that the experiences people are having are in connection to the students in class that were taking place back in the 1920s.
In 1920,
Fire.
St. Petersburg, Florida dedicated a new high school. The first yearbook had a prophetic dedication.
That the soul and spirit of the whole school could perhaps stay on for years to come, and which is in fact what could have happened here.
St. Petersburg High was a jewel in the city's crown. In 1920, St. Pete's first class president was A.B. Fogarty. Today, he's one of the school's oldest living graduates.
Oh,
when
wow.
I picture the school, well, I see a
What a character.
large, airy, well-lit
Bigfoot
building
is a gang
with
stalker.
wide halls, a nice auditorium, people busy going to
Oh my
and fro
gosh,
to
these
their
are
different
weird
duties.
pictures. I don't care for them.
And they had time to stop and talk to each other in those days.
St. Petersburg boomed so quickly that by 1926, the charming brick high school was too small. A larger school was built and Old St. Pete was abandoned. It had a variety of tenants over the next 60 years until it was converted into condos. When the new residents moved in, they felt
Converted
an eerie
into
sense that they
condos?
were not alone.
You feel like you're living in someone else's space, and you have the feeling that you should respect it.
Bobby Brown had just moved into her apartment in the former science wing. She was watching television when she had her first paranormal encounter.
All of a
I was
sudden,
watching Johnny
this
Carson
huge
when I saw the
shining
ghostly
disc
vision of a
that
Bunsen
was
burner.
gigantic, probably 6 feet across, came rolling through these windows. And when it hit the wall, it exploded into this millions of fragments of light, and the light was so bright it nearly blinded me. I believe there are spirits. I believe that there's an energy source that comes from an unexplained place, and that probably that energy is here in this building.
The individuals are very credible witnesses, and the situations are very simple situations that suddenly become very extraordinary because of phenomena which
I mean, realistically, wouldn't every place be haunted? Don't terrible things happen pretty much everywhere?
Have experienced
Like, wouldn't there be a lot of residual negativity, like,
at first they just heard voices,
literally
laughing,
everywhere?
giggling, childish shouts and murmurs.
Certainly in the
Then
New Haven
Rick Caesar, who lives in what was
area.
once the science lab, insists he saw a ghost.
Well, I was in the bedroom one morning getting dressed, and I saw
Russell Hantz from Survivor.
Man with a white shirt and a thin tie. He was kind of looking off into the conservatory, just kind of like he was looking. And then I said, whoa, and I backed up to look again, and he wasn't there.
They may not, in fact, be individuals who are dead or have passed away coming back to haunt this location. They could, in fact, be nothing more than impressions that have been left behind in the environment that certain people are perceiving and sensing under certain extraordinary circumstances. That sound you hear right now, those are your
Chacon's investigation here begins with physical and psychological testing
you're
of the
just seeing,
eyewitnesses.
like,
he monitors their sleep to determine if
It's kind of like if you're able to see ghosts, maybe you're not seeing the ghosts. Like she said, you're seeing like the remnants. So maybe it's kind of like in a video game where you click in the thumbstick and you go into like detective mode and you can, like, things are highlighted. Maybe you can see the echoes of the past like that.
what they are experiencing could be a dream. Then he uses highly sensitive equipment to monitor the entire building over a 24-hour period.
Peeping Tom ghosts, they're the
Thermal
worst.
vision allows us to visually record and document
OPC
an
Dom.
environment in temperature variations. The night vision technology allows us to move around under complete
Remember when he
darkness.
was eyeballing Grace while
All of
she
these
was
instruments
skinny
work
dipping, but then he didn't want to
together,
go out and help her,
and
even
then
though he
we're
said
able
that she
to
was not
look
a
at
strong
any types
swimmer.
of abnormal phenomena or artifacts that we can correlate if something should take place.
While OSIR conducted its scientific investigation, Sightings walked the halls with
Cold-blooded.
A.B. Fogarty. It had been more than 70 years since the former class president had been here. We hoped he could help us understand why his long-departed classmates might still roam the building.
It's lost its airiness, this architectural creation. It's changed. It's a totally different thing, totally different.
There's no reason why, if in fact someone had demolished or changed the structure, that they wouldn't have come back and actually become more active because of the fact that someone altered it.
The spirit can roam anywhere, but anybody's can.
Yes, Randy, there you go.
Spirit is the thing who we really are.
The OSIR investigation turned up some unusual electromagnetic activity and cold spots in the walls, signs consistent with other reported residue hauntings.
We would probably have to classify this location as a classic.
Yeah, Ben had her go out and go skinny dipping, and then OPC creepily watched, but then, like, when it looked like she might be drowning, he didn't want to go out and help, even though he acknowledged the fact that she was not a strong swimmer.
Haunt. It has all the characteristics as far as its past history, and also in regards to the experiences people continue to have.
The current residents of Old St. Petersburg High School take pride in their building's historic stature and live in peace with the building's past.
I don't think OPC Don poses any mental or physical threats to Grace Thorpe. I mean, Grace is a, Viking tradmate, a Valkyrie, if you will.
Not everyone has experienced the voices and visions, but those who have,
That's the day
believe
you
that no
truly
matter what
turn.
happens to this building in the future, it will always be filled with school spirit. During our investigation in St. Petersburg, we had access to some of the most sophisticated technology currently available. But this equipment is still in its infancy. Investigators have yet to devise some sort of machine to objectively measure A
Do
subjective
you remember
experience.
Distinction when there was like a big deal over Ben getting accused of filming somebody? Do you remember what was actually filmed that caused that? I don't know if it's in the video that I posted or not because I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't rewatch the whole thing, but it's literally like 2 or 3 people walk into frame in the distance, and like, I don't know, less than 10 seconds later, either Ben or Grace comes over and grabs the camera and like turns it the other way. Like I can't, there's nothing else out of that entire time that like fits with them filming other people besides that like little bit.
Of a ghost.
If you've had a paranormal experience, call the Sightings hotline at 1-900-933-SIGHT. That's 1-900-933-7444.
I want to say it was on the stream where Ben was taking a shit down by the water. You remember he was like just off stream or like just off camera, like in part of the woods.
4. Each call 65 cents a minute. Average call lasts 3 minutes.
Because he didn't want to walk
Sightings
back
is
up
also
the
online. Our email address is sightings at
maybe the
AOL.com.
bathroom. Remember there was like that long staircase, like uphill
Next
staircase.
week on Sightings.
We had 200 rescuers, we had dive teams, dogs teams.
But the dead man called out to her.
Come get me, the yellow boy, come get me.
Then, what if this man's prediction for the year 2000 comes true? And new evidence in this UFO sighting. Is it real? And this boy's
I've tried to find anything else that it could be just because I want to know like what happened, but I can't find anything else during that time that fits like where someone appears on camera that's not supposed to be on camera, and like, I don't know, it's always kind of stuck out to me that got brought up, but it never got like addressed. All right, I don't have time to watch another full one, but let's watch the video of that mummy vocal cords. Whoops. Hopefully this will bring it up. Oh yeah, here we go. So scientists go through all this trouble to recreate what a mummy's voice would sound like.
Scientists were able to mimic Nessie Amun's voice by recreating his mouth and vocal cords with a 3D printer. It allowed them to produce a single sound.
That's it. Like, that's the sound that it makes. Like, how ridiculous. Okay, hang on. I got one more. I want to show you one short thing real quick here. I just got to find it. Well, wait, hang on a second. Let me do this. Will be faster. Oh no, I lost the chat. Hang on. How much did that mummy cost? I mean, it couldn't have been cheap, right? You wouldn't think. Just like how complete, yeah, OPC Don ancestor, yeah. Oh man, just just so ridiculous. Okay, hang on, I gotta find this. I promise it's worth it. It's fantastic. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Let me pause it real quick. Oh, come on. Okay.
On May 16th, 2023, officers responded to a neighborhood for a call of a disturbance.
Yeah. So what's going on?
Asked me for, okay, a roll of quarters.
Yeah.
You know how much a roll of quarters is? $10. That's not much money.
Yeah.
So I went back to his place because I'm broke.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him for my money back. And he told me, no, bitch, get the fuck out of here. And I told him, and then he threw me on the sidewalk.
Okay.
Physically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shove.
Yeah.
Like, hard.
So,
shove.
who'd you give the $10 to? Jordan.
I don't know.
This one is police give disturbed Karen a much-needed reality check.
His name, do you?
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah.
Can you tell me it, please? Why
So-
not? Why does it come from?
Why'd you give him $10? You just asked for $10 or what?
Because I'm actually I'm actually a kind-hearted person.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit gullible.
Okay.
Which means that I have the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
You know what that means?
Mm-hmm.
That I actually prefer to trust someone. Actually, that's my adopted kitty.
Okay.
But, sweetheart. Anyway, beyond that point. Fucking asshole.
Mm-hmm. So when did you give him the $10? Was it today? A couple days ago? 5 months ago?
Oh man, look at this stand.
Okay.
And all he does, and Valerie. Okay, I live over here, in 1023.
Yeah.
Do you see it? It's right there. She lives with the one with the, do you see that black box on her door? She already called the cops on him because he goes up and down this block, like banging on doors, asking for money, asking for drugs. He wants to smoke pot. He wants a cigarette. He's diabetic. He needs a sweet treat. He needs a brownie.
Ben Thorpe.
He needs everything. He just
Come on, listen to this and tell me if she's not describing Ben.
sweet treat. He wants asking for money, asking for drugs. He wants to smoke pot. He wants a cigarette. He's diabetic. He needs a sweet treat. He needs a brownie.
A cigarette and a sweet
he
treat.
needs everything. He doesn't deserve God.
So 5 months ago, though, you gave him $10 so he can get some quarters. What was he using the quarters for?
Crack. He's a crackhead.
Okay.
Are you wise? Look up. There's at least 2 boys in there.
Okay.
I don't smoke crack. That fucking shit. Fuck that.
So you went over there today. You know what time you went over?
About a half hour ago.
Half
And
hour.
Melissa, his fucking cult bitch with the red wig, I don't give a fuck who she is.
Yeah.
But she needs to
Okay.
She's evil. And he and her together
So
are
you're-
like a danger
The
duo.
main conflict, though, was between you
And Jordan, correct.
over that $10.
Because he stole from me. He stole he told me he was gonna pay me back. Alright? He made a promise to me.
Yeah.
Does anyone even know what that word is anymore?
The thing is,
Fucking promise?
The thing is, if you loan him money, that becomes a civil issue. You know that, okay?
Well,
So
then what? Not you, that motherfucker. Then what do I need to do? I need papers.
you'd
now!
have to take him to small claims court over
Give it!
$10.
Now!
So,
I'm
what-
sorry, I don't mean to be asshole to you.
What happened?
I'm falling a complaint on this motherfucker.
What happened over there?
complaint
You
on
said you
this
went over
sick,
there
evil
and you had.
I already told you what happened.
You haven't told me anything. All you said you went over
No.
there. Elizabeth.
Your ears are clogged then.
Elizabeth.
Get the fucking cotton balls
Well,
out
come
of
here
your
so we
head.
can talk about it.
Oh, I already told you. That is a motherfucker who owes me money.
I hear you.
And he Lisa.
What happened over
Wow.
there? What happened over
Our
there?
minds are blown.
Bring it down here and tell me
I
what
will
happened.
not bring it down 1 inch until that motherfucker burns in an inferno.
Hell
and
yeah.
I fucking rip his fucking skull to pieces. Inferno are blown.
Bring it down here and tell me what
I will
happened.
not bring it down 1 inch until that motherfucker burns in an inferno. And I fucking rip his fucking skull to pieces.
Yes.
All right, Elizabeth.
Get the fuck away from me.
Elizabeth, we're not gonna play this game. We're not gonna play this game. Stop.
I won't
Put your
take
hands
it
behind
down
your
1
back. Put your hands
inch
behind your
until
back.
that
You're
motherfucker's in the inferno and I'm ripping his skull to pieces.
Nope, you're under
He
arrest.
stole from me. Get the fuck off me. Please. For the love of God. Please.
For the
I'm
love
a
of
woman
God.
here. I'm a mother. I have a child. Jordan is a fucking crackhead. You're gonna arrest me before you arrest the crackhead?
I tried talking with you. You didn't want to talk.
Oh, I did explain everything to you, Mr. Willard. Or whatever your name is. Hillard.
Is anybody in
That's
your
my
apartment
house.
right
Do not.
Is anybody inside there?
Do not.
I'm gonna close your door. Is anybody inside?
Do not approach my door.
You
have no authority.
You want your door to stay open?
You have no fucking authority in mine.
Yes.
Assessment.
Okay, I'm gonna close your door.
Get the I have no. Do not approach my door.
You
have no authority.
You want your door to stay open?
You have no fucking authority in mine.
Oh my God.
Assessment.
Okay, I'm gonna close your door.
Get the fuck away.
And you just spit on me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Because you
Come on.
Get the
No,
fuck
let's
away
go.
from my house.
Nope, we're done.
Get the fuck away from my house.
They're spitting
Get
on our
the
police
fuck
officers.
away
Women with
from
keys
my
around their necks are
house.
spitting on our
Are you
beloved
paying my
police
rent,
officers.
cool bitch? No, you're not. This is the problem, not me. Fuck you, Jordan, you fucking asshole. And your head will rule for this
Yes.
fucking sin.
She's hitting the Shawn Michaels.
You fucking cool bitch in your fucking pajama
Your
pants.
head will
Fuck
roll
yeah.
for this.
That's the fucking asshole. No! Not me! Him!
You are going in this car.
I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
I'm not going in that car.
You are going.
I'm not going in that fucking
Elizabeth,
car.
do you want a resisting charge?
No, I don't.
Then get in the car.
Get that motherfucker in the car. What? No, that's my house key.
I will cut it off if you don't.
No!
I will cut
That's
it off.
my
if you
house
don't.
key.
I know, you will get it back when you get that county. Let go. All right. Get in the car.
Fuck off me. You fucking assholes.
Get in the car.
Fucking me. That's my sister.
I know who she is. I just talked to her about 2 weeks
Get the
ago.
fuck off
Get in
me.
the car. You want a resisting charge? Then get in the car. Get
Listen,
in the car.
listen.
Elizabeth,
Shut the fuck
in the
up.
car. A resisting charge.
Listen.
I will talk to you.
Back on.
Get in the
now.
car. I will give you
No.
3 seconds.
I will not get in the car until you listen to my
I'm
sister.
going to talk to your sister, but if you have 3
Get your
3
hands.
seconds.
Get your fucking
3,
hands off me.
2.
Boom! Oh, that's such a good hit. Oh, yeah. That is so wild. Oh my God.
Hands off me.
2.
Oh, the anticipation.
Get your fucking hands off me.
Understand rights.
No, I do not.
Okay, then.
They're false.
Then I can't talk to you.
That man needs to be arrested, not me.
I told you I can't talk to you unless you say yes. You
Did
understand
you
your
see
rights.
that motherfucker in the pajama pants?
Yeah.
That's the motherfucker who smokes crack. He's got 2 crack pipes in his living room. Look a little harder, Mr. Officer.
And my other partner went over there, but like I said,
Well, he's dumb as a
Elizabeth.
box of rocks.
Elizabeth, I can't talk to you.
Partner's
You said
as
no.
dumb as a box of rocks.
Okay. So our conversation ends there.
That's bull. Okay.
Okay.
Then I retract my statement.
So do you understand your rights?
Yes, and I would like to speak with you.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
retract my statement.
So
I'm mad as hell.
I know you're mad. And the number one thing that anytime that I'm out here with you is usually because you're angry about something.
It's true. It's true.
Okay.
I have anger management issues.
It happens.
For true.
Okay. But I need you to meet me and stay here. As soon as you get ramped up, we never have a conversation. And as soon as you get there, you immediately go, fuck you guys, I don't want to talk, and you slam the door in our faces. So I want to know what's going on. So this is what you told me so far. About 5 months ago, you gave him $10. Today you confronted him over the $10. And then you got skinned up from getting thrown out on the sidewalk.
Yes.
How'd you get thrown out on the sidewalk? You didn't clarify anything what happened there.
Physically grabbed both my arms
Mhm.
and shoved me backwards out his front door.
Now, was his door open? Was it closed?
I walked in though.
You walked in there. Was the
Because
door closed though?
Because he's my...
So listen, here's what happened. I invited myself in. I opened the door and went into this guy's house, and he threw my ass out.
Actually, in a way, I thought he was my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually trusted him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm often misguided in people that I trust.
Mm-hmm. Everything's getting documented, but you are going today, okay?
What? Where? What?
So you're going to be going over to county.
No. No. That's
Arrested
completely
for what?
unfair. He's the one who
So,
threw me off.
He spoke to the other half,
Visiting
and he's
a
got
neighbor?
charges for the damage and
Being
essentially, I think, the fight between
arrested
us.
for being neighborly.
But
You're wrong.
hear me out.
Basic geese.
You walked into someone's residence. That's not your residence.
He owes me money.
Even if he...
That wasn't his money. I gave it out of the goodness of my heart.
Even if
He owes me that money.
Elizabeth, remember, you got to meet me here. We go up here, we won't be able to talk. You walked into someone else's residence today, and a crime occurred. You know what that's classified underneath state law? A home invasion. You're not being charged with that. It very well, that could be pushed today. We're not doing that. Okay? I know this is all...
Where's my sister?
Sadly, your sister went back to essentially her van.
Where's my sister? Fucking crackhead! He has 2 crack pipes
There
on
you go,
his
Mindful.
kitchen
She
table.
just flipped it.
Why am I the one in handcuffs? And he's a black man, and I'm a white woman? What the fuck is wrong with you? And he's a black man, and I'm a white woman? Why am I the one in handcuffs? And he's a black man, and I'm a white woman? What the fuck is wrong with you? Hillard, let me the fuck out of this cop car immediately.
Oh my
and
gosh,
uncuff
$20
me.
or
My
something.
lawyer will be on your fucking ass in 2 seconds.
Okay, you can call him.
He
Delaware
will
County.
be on your ass in 2 fuck.
That'd be so great. You're just driving around and then you got like an A-tier yapper in the back to like, you know, to keep you entertained.
Fucking seconds.
Do you remember what I said earlier, though? What you could have been charged with? And what we're not charging you with?
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Well, I don't deserve anything. I called you to help me because I was brutalized and I have the fucking cost to my elbows to prove it.
But you also admit that you walked into his house without permission and shoved a pylon through the screen.
Actually, he stole about $20 fucking from me,
Is
as
it-
well as some fucking hash pipe goodness,
Hash
as well
type
as
goodness.
at least 5 cigarettes.
Is it?
He's been begging.
Okay, $20, some hash type goodness, and 5 cigarettes is what he owes her.
Is it 20?
Valerie, even put a case on him.
Is it 20
You
or is it 10?
are in the wrong.
Okay, we're done talking.
Amazing.
Yeah. You can't get
I just get along with this person very
Who
well.
the fuck? Fuck you! I'm calling Jerry Devine. Yes! And Josh Shrinker. And your fucking dad, Brady.
Okay, am I completely... Have you guys ever played Borderlands? She talks like a Borderlands character.
All my fucking relatives will be at your door with access.
Now,
No! Fuck with the Irish!
Elizabeth,
Fuck! Shut the fuck off!
everything's being audio and video recorded. Stop threatening.
Fuck!
Stop threatening a public official.
Just because I said the word access? Seriously?
You're gonna have your family meet me at my doorstep with access.
Yep.
Do you want that charge? I know you're mad.
If it happens,
Remember we have this?
happens.
If we have this conversation, I know what happens when you get mad.
Exist. Oh. I'm the one in handcuffs, and you're telling me what to say. Fuck it. Fuck it. That's fucking pretentious as hell. You fucking dick. You know what? You might as well shove your own dick up your fucking ass till it bleeds your brain out of your eyeballs.
Why don't you shove your own dick up your asshole? Amazing.
Okay.
You have your pretentious as hell. You fucking dick. You know what? You might as well shove your own dick up your fucking ass till it bleeds your brain out of your eyeballs.
Okay.
You don't treat a woman that way. I'm a fucking mom. I have a 9-year-old child.
I'm a fucking mom.
All right? And she's smart as a whip, and she will kick your ass any day. If I fucking tell her to. She might as well be my Doberman pinscher.
This is an outrage.
Fucking canines. So y'all motherfuckers who stop fucking with me. You don't fuck with the Irish. Yet she's a woman, and y'all don't listen to women. Because y'all think that, oh, we're men, we got a fucking big dick in our hand, and we can do whatever the fuck we want. You know what? I'm a fucking cool bitch, and you'll fuck! Because I got fucking cred. I got street cred, and I got lawyers that fight us out.
Street cred?
11.
Look at this imagine, man, rolling up. You got your full crew. You got your Grace, your Valkyrie. You've got VP the Barbarian, Jedi Joy the Berserker. You've got your Assassin class, Bethadone. And this is your brute. This is your, like, the muscle you bring in.
Oh, that's my key! No! You do not take my key! That's my key to my apartment!
Do not take my key!
Do not take it, bitch! No, you're not! You're gonna keep it on my person. It is my key! You don't steal my property! My lawyer will fuck you! Fuck! Yeah. Let's figure this out. Fuck off! We're gonna go to 11. Fuck off! Fuck you! You fucking cool bitches! Don't touch me! Leave me the fuck alone! Stop hurting my
What a
hand
raiding
that way.
party that would be.
Stop it! You're gonna break my finger! Stop it! I'll break your finger! Let go of my hand! Now! I'll kick you!
The woman was charged with trespassing and resisting arrest.
Trespassing and resisting arrest.
Thanks for watching today's video. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe.
All right, well, hopefully that was a nice... I like to go out on something positive, go out on a good vibe. I think Elizabeth brought that to the table. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I might put a poll up. I have a bunch of different things, but anyway, thanks for learning about spontaneous human combustion, alien milking machines. We got to have a serious discussion about what role post-nut clarity plays in the world at large. I think it was a pretty successful overall stream. That blonde giantess, I know, she's like the guard on Assassin's Creed that has like the giant like two-handed mace. Like she's your like heavy unit. All right, I'll see you guys later.